Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5 The Zone. Welcome in on a Thursday morning. Well, for Real Salt Lake, that was something. Again, they battled, but they are not good at scoring goals. So the game with Portland ends up scoreless. They split the points. They'll take 1 point and move on. They do get their third shutout of the year. The 18-year-old Xavier Gozo created opportunities going forward, but they couldn't finish him. Maybe it'll get a little better when they get William Agata back. He was suspended with the red card on the weekend. He couldn't play against Portland. And Portland's a good team. They're in third place in the West, and they score a bunch of goals. I mean, they're fourth in the West in goals scored. So it's a good shutout, but for RSL, there's some opportunities to score there. They don't get them, so they drop a couple points at home, and now they head off to Colorado on the weekend. Speaking of heading off, the Golden State Warriors can head off to Cancun or wherever they want to go for the summer, Miami, Florida, go out to Hawaii, whatever. They're done. Minnesota wins in 5. They are on to the conference final. Will Oklahoma City join them there? Oklahoma City has a Game 6, a closeout game, but it's in Denver. So we'll see how that goes tonight. At home, Boston rallied, shot the 3 really well. The 5 starters were especially lights out. I thought the bench was okay, but the starters were a combined 14 of 25 from the three-point line. When you're starting 5, shoot it like that, you're probably going to win. And Boston did win comfortably, but they blew the Knicks out. And afterwards, I thought Brunson and Bridges, their quotes were spot on about, the energy the Celtics brought, the focus, the desperation they played with. Now, your coach, and apparently he did, can exhort you, hey, this is it, everything right here. And, of course, New York doesn't have the same level of desperation in Game 5 up 3-1. New York might have it in Game 6 at home, though. They probably don't want any part of Game 7, wrap this thing up and be done with it already. So we'll see if the Knicks play a better game. We'll see if the Celtics can bring that energy again and shoot it like that. Derek White went for 34. Brown had 25. They're both pretty efficient, too. So I think that's the best game of the series. Brown has not had a great series. I think that's his best game of the series. We'll see if they can do that again. All right, there's a quick glance at what's going on in there's more. We'll get to it coming up in what is trending in 1 hour. The other big news is Brian Santiago had his press conference. He's introduced as BYU's new athletic director, replacing the retiring Tom Homo. The media scrum after the press conference. Here's Brian Santiago with the media.
So is today officially day one for you?
This is day one.
You on the job, Tom?
This is day one. Tom's been telling me he's ready to hand the baton and hand me the keys and wants to move forward. And I want our athletic department to know, like every single person in the athletic department, that we're moving forward in a consistent way to what we've been doing. There's not going to be a lot of change, but it's super important for everybody to know that we're united. We have incredible positive momentum right now in the athletic department, maybe the best we've ever had, and we need to get ready. Like nobody's going to be picking us last, picking us at the bottom of the Big 12. We got to be ready for what's coming, and the intensity is going to pick up, and people are going to be gunning for us now. We're not going to catch anybody off guard. So, not only in the athletic department, but our teams, our coaches, our student athletes, they're ready, and we're ready. We're ready for the challenge. So this is day one. And we're excited about it. I mean, we're going to meet each day with enthusiasm. I mean, there's so much to be excited about. We're going to look at things really positively and do this together. So,
what's the transition like going from deputy AD to AD?
Yeah, it's a great question. I've been in this role for quite some time. And certainly there are a lot of responsibilities that I have that I'm going to need to delegate to some of the excellent administrators that we already have in our athletic department. I'm looking to them to really step up and to take on some of these responsibilities. And I kind of, in this role, I've already had some time meeting with some coaches where they've known this transition is coming, not knowing it was going to be me. There's been some uncertainty, but I've had some time to kind of see things from a little bit of a different view, see coaches from a different view. If I'm given this opportunity, what is it going to look like? And what it does is it makes you really aware of a bunch of areas that I haven't had to think about, right? I've thought about the 11 sports that I oversee, those 11 coaches, those student athletes. That's been kind of my world. The NIL and collective stuff that's been going on. It's just been going nonstop 24/7. and all of a sudden you come into a place where you're like, oh, there's a whole another set of responsibilities that I've got to take super seriously. And starting with, and let's make no mistake about it, Kalani Sitake in the football program. Some people aren't aware. They see me as a basketball guy. Some people are not aware. Tom and I have been in the trenches with Kalani since we hired him. We hired him together. We met together in one of the great experiences that I've had in my time in college athletics was that interview with Kalani Sitake, and then subsequently with Kevin Young last year. But that interview with Kalani Sitake, we've been in the trenches with him. Football drives the ship. There's nothing more important at BYU than our football program. We have an exceptional head coach. This is an exceptional, not only football coach, this is an exceptional human being, an exceptional leader, and the staff that he's put around him, exceptional. That's driving the ship. And so, day one, I think the first thing on my calendar this afternoon is a very important meeting in the student-athlete building with our football staff and coach.
You talked about taking on extra responsibilities with Tom during kind of the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
You feel like that's set you up to essentially hit the ground running with taking over the full-time gig?
Yeah, and I mentioned it earlier. This is one of the great qualities that Tom has, is he empowered me. He empowered me and he gave me a voice. And as the changing landscape of college athletics started happening and this world that we're in that none of us, including all of you, could have ever seen coming, he empowered me to kind of take the lead in that realm. So I've already been in the trenches. We meet weekly with Kalani to talk about super important issues in the football program. I've already been in football. Everybody knows my tie to Kevin Young in the basketball program. Those lead the charge. We have to be prepared and to be at the top of our game in those two. But we're not going to sacrifice the rest of our athletic department. We're all in for every one of our coaches and programs, and we expect excellence, and we're going to chase excellence. But yeah, that's where it starts and stops.
I know you and President Reese said you wanted to take some time, but do you have a timeline on when you would like to fulfill the deputy AD position?
Sooner than later. And to be truthful, I actually think there are multiple people that we're going to empower and elevate in the athletic department. You know, people see it as a traditional. There's Tom. I've been the deputy athletic director. Liz has been the SWA. But we're gonna end up elevating a number of people in the administrative team and our executive team, empower them and give them an opportunity to really make a difference in the athletic department. I just think it's a different day. And you're not going to find one or two people, carrying the lion's share of it. And that's what I'm really excited about, is we have excellence in our athletic department right now. And there are people that are going to step up, and people are going to start to see, wow, it hasn't just been one or two people. There's a reason we've had success and such broad success. It's because we have excellent people in the athletic department. And I'm talking about not just at the executive level, all the way, everyone in the athletic department, down to our support staff, excellence around, and we're going to elevate multiple people. We're going to bring in potentially some people, but the first item of business is to meet with our current staff and make sure that we're giving them opportunities to grow and, as I've been saying, fly in the workplace, but also fly in their lives and really be able to let their talents show.
Brian, you've touched upon your personality is different than Tom's.
Yeah.
You're very competitive,
Yeah.
very passionate.
Yep.
Obviously, with that comes some detractors.
Sure.
What would your message be to some of the people who might not be on board with you as BYU's athletic director?
Yeah, Jay, it's a great question. We are who we are, and I feel like I can stand with confidence in who I am. I think that part of my competitive nature came with me when I was born into this world. But what I'd say to those people is that I can't wait to get to know them better, and they're going to see that I'm not the same person now that I was 27 years ago. Through a lot of incredible mentors, through a lot of incredible leaders, some of the presidents of this university that I've had a chance to work closely with, from President Bateman to President Samuelson to President Worthen to now President Reese. These are people that have helped mentor and really show me that you can be competitive, you can be super passionate, but you can also do it in a way with love and compassion so that, it kind of takes some of that edge off. But I think people would just, if they knew the personal side of me, people see the public side. And last I checked, we're in a world of college athletics that is highly competitive. If you're not in the competitive world, you're going to get run over. And last I checked is we're going to chase excellence and we're going to chase greatness. But I would just say to people, let's go on this journey together. And the more that we can interact with each other, the more you see who I really am as a person. You're going to see that, I started out not being able to watch an entire game sitting in one seat. I couldn't do it. I had to go for walks. But over time, some of those maybe rough edges are softened. And I just hope that people can see the personal side to me and really see how much I care about people. I think our coaches and our student athletes would tell you that they get to see that side of me and they know how all in I am for them in their lives, not just for sport.
Is there anything on your immediate wish list right now that you want to see done quickly or not even to get an evaluation or everything?
Yeah, the first thing I want to do is make sure all of our coaches are locked in at BYU. We need to make sure that, starting with Kevin Young, that he's locked in at BYU for a long time. And obviously that we're super close and we're going to have some good conversation. But I just want to make sure that we have the right 19 coaches in place for all of our sports and that they feel confidence to be able to move forward, knowing that we're with them. That's probably the first item of business, is just making sure that everybody understands my priorities are number one, Kalani Sitake in our football program and Kevin Young in our basketball program, and that we instill confidence that all of our athletic department can stand knowing that we're in this together.
Is there concern that Kevin Young's not locked in with potential jobs?
Kevin Young's locked in. I just think that everybody knows there's been a lot out there with him being such a successful NBA coach, and the Phoenix Suns making a change with their head coaching job. And it is obvious that they're going to be interested in talking to Kevin Young. What I'm hoping is that Kevin Young sees everything that's happening here, and for all of these student athletes that we've brought to BYU, that this is the right place for he and his family, so that we can move forward with confidence and everybody knows we're ready to go.
There's Brian Santiago with the media. We'll have more with him coming up later this hour. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Coming up next, Tim LaComb talking Jazz draft. Where do they go now with the 5 pick? Who does he like? Is there a chance they make a move? And a little bit on the playoffs as well. Stick around. That's next. Tim, good morning.
Good morning. How are you guys?
Doing well. Have you rebounded from the draft lottery disappointment, or are you still down in the dumps?
Oh, I don't get down in the dumps anymore. That was when there was a real big salary attached to it. Not so much anymore. It's a tough day, really tough day, and I think obviously worst case scenario, and so you've got to figure out now the next move. Obviously, it's been easy to pick one, but at 5 and with a bunch of teams above you that might be willing to move that, it's going to be interesting to see what the Jazz do. They have done a great job, regardless of where they drafted. I think at acquiring talent, and so this is going to be, I think the thing lost on the disappointment. It's not 1-2. It's still 5, and the Jazz have found guys in the 20s. They found guys in the second round, so I'm sure they'll be able to find a guy at 5 that works for them.
This is kind of a good thing, bad thing. The good thing is that they should be able to get a good player and just take best player available. Best player available usually means, well, you got all sorts of needs. So depending on which side you want to look at the coin, you can play that. But the good thing is I see no reason why they don't get a quality player. It just may not be a franchise changer, if you can use that term.
Yeah, and obviously the great thing about young guys is they're energetic and they've got a lot of skill and talent. The bad thing is they have no idea what they're doing for the first little while. And so, the hope was to get a guy who's pretty ready-made. But there are still, like I said, there's still great options. It's just having to reset your expectations. And then to expound a little bit more on what I said earlier, I think with San Antonio at 2 and Philly at 3, aren't dying necessarily for the picks and are in a great position if they want to get into some deals. That's another place the Jazz were kind of hoping they could get to, and maybe they can. It just wouldn't be the main marquee deals, but it will be now between now and the draft. It's going to be a pretty interesting time for the Jazz to evaluate and then also take the temperature around the league, see what's out there. So I would assume it'll be a pretty interesting offseason here in Utah.
If you had to guess right now, Markkanen's still on the roster in the fall, Collins still on the roster in the fall, or one or both of them are moved for the reasons you just talked about. There's some good teams who might prefer to have veterans in their prime, and let's go.
Yeah, no, I think that right now, especially with the new result, it probably affects timetable a teeny bit, and so yeah, you've got to use what assets you have to try to move the timeline ahead. And the season that John had, coming off of a season where he was sensational, I was surprised nobody got involved with him at the deadline or for him, because I think he could have really helped. As I watched the playoffs particularly, he could have really helped some of these teams. But I think it's probably up in the air, DJ. I wouldn't say that, rolling it back is going to happen, but it may happen. We just got to see, I guess, what's out there, what's available, and if now after watching John Collins play and sitting through a playoff situation, and teams like, hey, we're going to go get that guy instead of a young guy. So there's all that has to go on now.
Of the veterans that would be potential trade material, and I guess maybe you can even throw Sexton in there, who's a young veteran, and the other guys are a couple years older with Collins and Markkanen, and then Clarkson at the other end. What do you think individually those guys would be worth on the trade market?
That's an interesting thing, because I think that was the issue last year. Is they were saying, Collins would get a second-round pick, if they were to do something. So it's almost like the economy, the picks kind of fluctuate, and depending on how hot the moment gets, people are willing to throw picks around, then it opens it back up. But right now, everything I've heard, obviously Lowry would command, he would be, the big piece. And I think the way that Sexton's played since he's been in Utah, would lend itself to him having a little bit more, he's definitely more well-rounded than when he got here. And he's definitely more, he's less turnover prone, and he's more prone to make the right play. And I think that's been a byproduct of working with Will. So I think those two guys, maybe obviously Lowry's commanding first, but I think that's what you're trying to get into is first or another player. And the beat goes on.
You've already pointed out San Antonio and Philly might want to make a deal. We know Milwaukee, Giannis is open to a deal. Houston and Phoenix have been a couple teams identified. Are there any other clubs you're looking at and thinking they've been on the sideline for a while, but now they're willing to wheel and deal, and that can change things for the Jazz?
Well, it's just, I think that's what's great about the NBA is it's almost like a soap opera, and the drama ebbs and flows. when that drama ebbs and flows, you got to be in the middle of it. And you mentioned Phoenix, perhaps Durant or Booker on the move. Jalen Green's name's been tossed around in Houston for them to try to get better. Even a Jabari Smith from Houston. So it really is now. This is why the scouting departments they do such a great job, both trying to find players coming into the league, but also the league itself. And I would imagine there'll be a couple more, as things settle here, as teams lose. I would imagine Cleveland's got to take a hard look at themselves. That looked eerily familiar to what we watched here. Team that, just kind of ran through the regular season, got to playoffs, and just really got taken apart by Indiana. So I think that's what makes it fun is you can't always predict, a guy who Jimmy Butler wants to get out of Miami. This stuff happens. So you just have to be aware of it. And that's where I think the Jazz are great. I think they've got great connections around the league and, it could be in a position. So we just have to sit back and watch that unfold.
You speak of Cleveland, and obviously you're referencing Mitchell going out in the second round and having the number 1 seed. And it's an interesting position that he's in because he gets on these teams that are good, but they're not necessarily great. He is the best player by salary usually, certainly by field goal attempts and the way he's ball dominant. But at the same time, he's not quite good enough. He's a great player, but he's not quite good enough. And the way I see it, unless they get some other talent that is either equal or better to him, this will be his lot in the NBA. It's not necessarily a bad lot because he's a really good player, but yet he's just not quite good enough. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. And I think, I think that's an interesting thing. I think that was always the question here. And I thought, the Jazz kind of, as that ownership group came in, looked around and saw very similar. They had 2 pretty high-priced players taking up a lot of salary, and then they had, good players around them. And I think the essence was, we can't win a title with this group. We just can't. And I think that's why, obviously, this move has been made. There is a part of it, too, PK, that I think Donovan's got to look in the mirror a little bit. He scores when it's free and easy, but it's an issue in crunch time of games. To have a team who, in essence, really rolled through that regular season. I was just shocked every night. I'd look and they just had such a great year. But I think Donovan, in some ways, still lives in the era in his head that the NBA is about that top star, and I think what teams like Boston, Indiana, Oklahoma City, yeah, they've got stars, but those are teams. Those guys, they compete together. They're unselfish. The ball moves. You can tell. And I still think Donovan's got some of that 90s, 80s, 90s in his head where, at the end of the game, I've got to make the play. I'm the star. I have to, all the attention on me. I have watched him enough. He plays like he knows the camera's on him, I guess is the point I'd use. And I think if he could break through, and maybe humble himself a little bit, and, not make it about you. That would be my suggestion for Donovan to be able to do a better job because you look at Jalen Brunson, he's ball dominant too, but he makes it about winning. And, I think that's something Donovan could learn a little bit from.
OKC still the team in your book? Are they the clear front runner to win this, or is this just wide open, 6 horses wide, making the final turn coming down the stretch at the Derby?
The regular season means nothing in the NBA. I mean, it obviously gets you into the turn, but you just got to finish in the top, to even get in the play-in, yeah. So what I'm learning more and more as I watch this, I mean, I don't know. I think Oklahoma City would be the choice, but in my mind, Boston was the choice, and I thought that, that they're trajectory this year, the way they played too, was really good. But I felt like they had something more because they had been there and done it. I could see a couple of different things happening now, and OKC still got to beat Denver, and with Jokic out there making one-legged three-point shots at the end of the shot clock to get 44. He only had 44 last night on 3 free throw attempts.
You think he'll shoot more at home in Game 6?
I think so.
Take the over on that one.
I mean, like Donovan, I think Donovan shot 20 last night or something crazy.
Jokic was 5 for 5 at the free throw line in that game.
He had 5. Okay. I saw it late, but yeah, he had 5 free throws and 44 points. Just crazy.
BYU names Brian Santiago as the athletic director. You were down there coaching basketball. I think he had stewardship over the program. What's your assessment of that hire?
Well, I'm really, really happy for B. First and foremost, a great friend and have known him through the years. We worked really closely together. When I first got there, I was the ops guy, and Dave Rose told me if you want to do good things on this campus, get along with that dude. So we got to travel a little bit together that first year. Got to know him really well, and he's been great to me. And I think has been great for BYU. I think he has been big on pushing change, a little bit of change. And, I can speak to when we were there, we went from flying commercial to flying private, and it made a whale of a difference. I mean, to borrow some Majerus, it got us back the next day for class, which was really important. But also, we could practice at our building the day before a game, eat, at our building and leave Provo around 5:30 and get anywhere in our league, by 9 o'clock and go shoot at their place that night and wake up in the morning there. And the travel was really light. So I can honestly say that was a huge part of why we had success. And I think that was an advantage early on. And that's what Brian does. He finds ways to get a competitive advantage. He is one of the most competitive dudes I know. And, but I'm really excited for him. And as much as I love all my people down there, Chad Lewis, I know was involved, love Chad to death and would have been really happy with Chad. But, it's Brian's day, and I'm really happy for him today.
There is Tim LaComb. DJ and PK proudly presented by our title sponsor, Black Desert Resort, Utah's premier golf resort. Brian Santiago, BYU's new athletic director, taking questions, the Q&A. Next, stay with us. Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5 The Zone. Brian Santiago is BYU's new athletic director. At the end of the press conference, he took questions for a little less than 20 minutes. We're going to let you listen to that Q&A session right now. Here's the new BYU athletic director, Brian Santiago.
Two-part question for you, Brian. Looking at your 27 years of experience working in BYU athletics, how has that kind of influenced how you're approaching this new role as you step into this new role? And the second part of the question is, what's kind of your philosophy and strategy that you want to implement in terms of guiding BYU athletics, especially as the college sports landscape continues to evolve and change?
John, I appreciate the question. The 27 years I've spent at BYU are the 27 of the greatest years of my life. And part of that is that I value relationships. And the relationships that we've been able to establish through time has been unbelievable. Some of the greatest athletic directors that have ever been at BYU, some of the greatest coaches. I was super fortunate to come to BYU 27 years ago with Steve Cleveland on his staff. Steve's here today, and forever grateful for that door that was open. And have had the privilege of working with amazing people. The inspiration, though, is the student athletes. It's unbelievable, but literally over 27 years, the children of people that I had the opportunity to coach and mentor are competing for us right now. Their parents are some of my dearest friends. It's pretty remarkable to see how this athletic department, this university, continues to inspire all of us, and those relationships are what carry the day. The second part of the question, I'm just going to refer to something that Tom and I have always felt super strong about. Little over 20 years ago, even before Tom got here, we were privileged to sit in a room with President Henry B. Eyring of the First Presidency. At the time, Elder Eyring came and spoke to us and answered questions. And one of our coaches at the time asked him a very direct question: what's the expectation? And he responded with the word excellence. And this coach, wanting to press more, said, what does that mean? And he said, to be nationally relevant. And then he said this, and this is the key, and this is what the charge that we feel, and this is the charge going forward. He said, to be nationally relevant and do it the right way. Because if we are nationally relevant and we do it the right way, the world will want to know who we are. And we can tell the story through these remarkable student athletes. So that's the charge that I've always felt at BYU over time, over being mentored by Tom and others, is that we're going to be excellent. We're going to be passionate about being nationally relevant. In this world of college athletics, it's imperative that we chase greatness. So we're not shying away from it. We want to be great. We want to compete at the highest level. It would be a disservice to some of the greatest athletes and coaches in the history of sport to be okay with mediocrity. We're going to be passionate about excellence, but what rings through our minds is to do it the right way and protect the integrity of this great place. That's how we're going to do it. That's going to be the charge, and we're going to walk the path together.
Mitch Harper, KSL Sports' questions for President Reese. You noted that you've interviewed more than 50 candidates, traveled thousands of miles. What was it about Brian that separated him from all the candidates, and what did you learn about Brian in this interview process that maybe you didn't know in the past?
Well, as you know, Brian's been around a while at BYU. One of the things I wanted to point out when he said that the kids are starting to show up of people who he'd mentored, that also indicates that he's actually getting older. But we, as I mentioned, the process has been remarkable. Nothing short of remarkable. I wouldn't change anything about the process as we went along. We learned things. We learned things about the passion for Cougar sports all around the country. We learned things about how much BYU athletics means. In fact, during one of these interviews, someone mentioned that BYU alumni might actually be too passionate about Cougar sports. I actually don't know that there is such a thing as too passionate about Cougar sports, we learned a ton about our fan base, things that we felt like we already knew, but it came to life as we went throughout this interview process. And as we visited with Brian, some of the things that we already knew about the depth of his commitment to the university, the focus that he has on the relationships with the student athletes, his attention to details, that is a tremendous set of qualifications. We also found in Brian someone who was humble, someone who was willing to hear feedback and willing to adapt and adjust to a changing landscape. Candidly, I think all of us, and I mean all of us as in the entire NCAA landscape, are going to be learning lots of new lessons as the House settlement comes out, at least as we hope the House settlement comes out. There is so much about today's college athletics that doesn't resemble our father's college athletics. So we're going to have a lot of lessons to learn, and the willingness, the humility to learn those lessons also came out through that process. So I hope that answers some of your question. Mitch, thank you for the question.
Jay Cash, KSL Sports. This is for Brian. You've been called Tom's wingman. He said that 3 months ago when we were sitting in this very room. How do you feel like you'll go about differentiating yourself as the new AD over BYU athletics?
Yeah, it was a privilege to be his wingman. I loved coming to work every day with him. Tom and I have a lot of similarities, but we're also unique in our own approach. It's one of the things that I always loved about Tom is that I always felt empowered. I always felt like I had a voice. We both are passionate about a lot of the same things. We're passionate about other things as well. And, you know, I feel like in every organization on planet Earth, when there's new leadership, our personalities, our vision, our dreams, our hopes, this is a new day. President just talked about the ever-changing landscape of college athletics. And one of the things that I'm really grateful for is especially the last 3 or 4 years, Tom's really empowered me, and where I've kind of taken a deep dive into the world of NIL, rev share, in the trenches with our coaches, with our student athletes, working alongside some of our important stakeholders that have helped us along the way, and kind of have some context there that is really going to help us as we kind of jump into this new era. And you know, I think that the one thing that I'll do is make sure and protect the great things that we've established together. And when I say we, I don't just mean Tom and me. All these coaches in the room, every member of our athletic department, we're united in this. And we've established some great positive momentum, maybe the best momentum that we've ever had in sports at BYU. And it's important for us to protect that, especially we have a department filled with excellence. We have administrators, we have coaches, we have support staff. Everybody's all in. And we're gonna continue to do this united for one purpose, and that's to strive for excellence, to do it together, and to help each other. And we're gonna protect everything that's good, and we're gonna continue climbing the mountain, because it's a big mountain. But being on the mountain with all of them, being on the mountain and in the trenches on the mountain with all of them, we can get there. I'm super excited about the possibilities.
Sam Foster, Daily Universe. For either one of you, as far as filling Brian's role as deputy director, what has that search been like, and have you guys found a candidate yet that you are leaning towards? And is it going to be in-house, or maybe one of the 50 people that you interviewed for AD? Is it going to be one of those names? What is that process looking like?
Well, it's a great question, Sam. Thank you. Brian's going to start to field a team. He's going to have to surround himself with greatness. This is an effort, as Tom knows, from his reliance on Brian and Liz and Chad and David, and I mean, I don't want to miss names, but this is not a one-person operation. We have a leader, and that leader is someone for whom people have significant confidence, but it's going to require assembling a team. And I think in the coming days and weeks, we're going to see that team start to develop. Brian hasn't known about this for a long time. This is a fairly recent development for all of us in terms of a final decision. And so I'll just say that with that, we feel like we need some time to make sure that we put together the team that is going to be most successful. And I'll just tell you that the number of people who are invested in this place, emotionally, financially, spiritually, is remarkable. It would drop your jaw if I could put up on the board back here the list of people with whom we visited. I mean, literally, it would drop your jaw. And I'm sure there's a lot of people saying, well, why don't we just do that right now? Well, I'm not going to. But it was truly humbling for me as the president of this university to see the depth and breadth of Cougar Nation.
Yeah, I'm just going to finish that question real quick. I mentioned it earlier. We have greatness already internally. We have some great people that are going to step up and make a huge difference for our athletic department, for the coaches and student athletes. And like he said, there are those outside that we're going to look at closely to come in. My personality is such that sometimes I think I can just keep doing it all. all the things that I was doing and take on new responsibilities. But I'm actually super excited about empowering other people to help this place go. And we're going to do it together. So I think there's a combination internally and externally that's going to be a huge value add to this athletic department.
Hi, Andrea Urban, Fox 13 Sports. You guys have alluded to it, 20 plus years, and Brian, I see you at all of these events. So a lot of Cougar Nation does know who you are, but for those who don't, for BYU fans who don't know you, for the city of Provo, what do you want them to know about Brian Santiago?
Andrea, great question, and grateful for all of you in the media. You've always been super supportive of this place, and you've always treated me with kindness and respect, and I appreciate that. What I'd want them to know, I think people see me in the world and have watched through the years. I'm obviously a super passionate person. It's something that's just in my blood, and I feel deeply for this place. So at times people see that passion and intensity. The part of me that they don't see is the deep love I have for people, the compassion I have for people, and that everything I do, I just want to help everybody around me be better. My coaches taught me at an early age as a point guard that it's almost better. In fact, they would tell me it is better. My parents used to tell me the same thing. It is better to have an assist than score the basket. Now that was previous to, now I play morning ball. I'm trying to make up for all those times I passed. But by the way, we did get buckets this morning. A little celebratory game with all my Ball is Life guys. And but I would just say I hope people will see that not only is there a soft and a sensitive side to me, and a compassionate side, but I just am amazed by the talent of all these young people, and just by the incredible people around the world. I just love to see other people and make people better, make people feel loved, and make people feel that they have a purpose on this planet Earth. And it's important to me to empower those around me. Another thing that's super important to me is I want to empower women. It's super important in this day and age of college athletics that we empower women. And I have one of the strongest women in the world that's by my side. And I just want to make sure that they know how important they are in this whole scheme of college athletics. A little bit of a long-winded answer, but I just want people to see my personal side, because I think people have seen my competitive side, and it's real, and I'm not going to back away from it. I think it's what makes us great. But I hope people can see my personal side, and I think that's an important part of who I am as a human being.
We're going to have one more question here for this portion of the Q&A. Brian's going to go off and do one interview after we wrap up. Then we'll have some informal media availability available after that.
Ron Weaver III, ESPN Utah. Brian, you mentioned climbing the mountain. How do you plan on climbing the mountain, and what's your vision for BYU athletics over the next 5 years, especially as the university continues to establish itself in the Big 12?
Yeah, I think it's no secret. Ron, great to see you. Appreciate you. You guys always show up. I love that. I think we always need to show up, all of us. But I think everyone in this room, all of Cougar Nation, got a glimpse of what the vision is for BYU athletics this past season. Kalani Sitake and our football team had a remarkable year that nobody saw coming. I will say that I saw it coming. Maybe not to that level, but I saw it coming, and I was on record before the season saying people are going to be really surprised with what Kalani Sitake and this football staff have put together, and we're going to go and do something that nobody expects us to do. And that's exactly what happened. And then everybody saw Kevin Young come in to BYU and do something that nobody expected us to do, and make our football and basketball programs, they lead the charge. But then you see our men's and women's cross-country teams go win national championships. You see all of our other sports competing at a national level. That's the vision. The vision is for us to be great, to win at the highest level, and do it in a way that's going to bring positive light to this university and to this church. This is way bigger than sport. But if we're not relevant, nobody cares who we are. And so our vision is to all of us together, every person in the athletic department, every coach, every person, every day is going to come with one goal in mind, and that's to help these student athletes fly. That's what we're going to do. Not only on the field, on the court, in the pool, on the track, but in life. That's what we're going to do. And recently we had a graduation banquet. The academic excellence of this place, along with the experience these student athletes are having, it is one of one. It does not get any better. And there's never been a better time for these student athletes to come to BYU. Okay, this is one of the great institutions in the world. And it's not by chance that it continues to rise, and it's going to continue to rise. But we had a graduation banquet the other night, and we had 5 student athletes from 5 different sports stand up. And I didn't hear too many of them talking about how many wins they had. We had people on that stand that had won at the highest level, competed at the international level. What they were talking about is their experience here. Their experience of these coaches loving them, the experience of when they went through adversity, coaches walking the path with them, their experience of being triumphant at the end. That's what we're after. We're after preparing them to go out into the world and change the world. That's what we're going to do.
There's BYU's new athletic director, Brian Santiago. When we come back, what is trending? The headlines are next.
It's time to get your morning started with the news you need to know. News update. This is what's trending with DJ and PK. Hashtag NBA.
Boston by 19, 10:35 to go. Drew Holiday left alone, so he just knocks down a 3. Karl Anthony Towns looking around going, I can't go out to guard him, I've got 5 fouls. Corner stops to the free throw line, shuttles it out to Pritchard for a good night 3. Start spreading the news.
Julius Randle collects the rebound. It's grab and go up the center of the floor. Julius going coast to coast, lays it in with the left hand. He's doing it all. 21 points, 6 rebounds, 4 dimes. Wolves by 25.
The challenge we laid down to our guys from day one was quite simple. It was one question. Were you a Western Conference Finals team, or were you a team that just happened to make the Western Conference Finals? And there's only one way to prove that. Go out and do it again. And that was our mission all year.
That's Chris Finch. The Minnesota Timberwolves are back in the Western Conference Finals for the second straight year. They handle the Warriors 121-110. They win the series in 5. They're moving on. They wait for either Denver or Oklahoma City. Impressed with the Timberwolves, PK? I mean, obviously the Warriors had the injury, and nothing the Wolves can do about that except go out and beat them. But did they pass the eye test along the way?
They've got 8 wins. They're halfway there, sure.
Celtics beat the Knicks 127-102. The Celtic starters shot the three-pointer very, very well. 14 of 25. The bench was okay from the three-point line. The numbers were great there, so they win the game comfortably, shooting 45% from 3. And the Celtics win Game 5 and stay alive. It's a pretty common story, though. After the game, I mean, the quotes from the Knicks, from Brunson, and he was talking about how we got to feel more intensity. They had a focus and a sharpness we didn't have. So, I guess we'll see if the Knicks summon that in Game 6.
They made shots. Shot 52% from the field and 45%. Let's not make this more than it is. This is not complicated.
And the Knicks couldn't make twos. Was that because the Celtics were playing with a ton of injuries, or the Knicks weren't focused and they're just slamming the ball off the rim?
The Knicks couldn't make twos because the Celtics were playing with a ton of injuries?
The energy.
Oh. Okay.
The Knicks were 17 of 51 on 2-point shots, 33%. not good, not nearly good enough.
Yeah, shots didn't go in. Again, let's not make this more complicated.
Oklahoma City can knock out Denver tonight. Game 6 of their series, 6:30 on ESPN. The Blazers are for sale. Phil Knight, Nike founder, said he's no longer interested in buying the team. He cited his age, 87. He says, 5 years ago when I was a younger man, I had great interest in being part of the Portland Trail Blazers franchise. However, at my current age, I can confirm I no longer have interest in acquiring the team.
Me either.
Find somebody else. DJ and PK.
Hashtag NFL.
I mean, I'll be there. Not to do a podcast. Yeah, I'll be there playing
Pretty
football
busy. Yeah.
in the heat. There's just something about getting closer to the equator that I don't want to put on football uniform doing that.
Especially in September?
I've been in Jacksonville in September, and that's miserable. I'd rather it be dry than humid. I'm a sweaty. I like when I'm in
There's
humid.
definitely water around Sao Paulo, but I think it's rivers or something like that, right?
Yeah, no. If it's hot and humid and kind of what I'm expecting, I'm going to be miserable. But we're going to find a way to get a win.
Travis Kelce talking about open the season in Brazil. The Chiefs are going to play the Chargers on Friday night on YouTube TV for free. So there you go. The schedule is out. Thanksgiving Day is loaded with a triple header. Christmas Day doubleheader. Glamour matchups everywhere. At least they sound like glamour matchups now. We'll see when we get there. And it is a triple header on Christmas this year.
Why not a quadruple header? What are they thinking?
College football plays quadruple headers.
Quintuple, sextuple. Let's just keep going.
No, don't get dirty. I don't want that. They do enough of that in the offseason. Forget that.
Eagles and Chiefs are going to have their Super Bowl rematch week 2. And amidst all the excitement over the schedule release, Derrick Henry getting paid. Re-up 2 years, $30 million deal, gets the extension, and now he'll be 33 by the time his deal ends. Largest deal for a running back over 30. DJ and PK.
Hashtag college football.
College football playoff is changing next year. You'll be shocked to learn. They're going to change the seeding process, and the conference champions will not get automatic first-round buys. ACC and Big 12 supporting the Big 10 and the SEC in that. So they'll give the buys to the highest-ranked teams, whether they're conference champions or not. Teams with buys didn't have a good tournament this year. Got knocked out, one after another. We'll see if that changes. Coaches were presented a proposal for an NFL-style spring calendar during ACC meetings this week. OTAs. So the traditional 15 spring practices would be different. The new proposal gives them 21 days on-field activities. 5 weeks to do it. Yeah. Unclear when they'll start that if they decide to do it. It's still all up in the air right now. And the other thing in college sports, and you just heard it in the 6 o'clock hour, BYU introducing their new athletic director, Brian Santiago. We can get more into this a little later in the show. Anything jump out at you from that, PK? There was a lot of standard talk.
I mean, he was humble, and he addressed the criticism that's been against him for several years, and he believes he's a changed man. So, well, there you go. Let's see what he's got.
DJ and PK.
Hashtag Major League Baseball.
First pitch brought home is a slider lined over the glove of the leaping Schneemann and into left field. Contreras around third. On his way home, he will score. Sliding into third is Terang. And on his way to second on the throw is Rhys Hoskins. The Brewers take a 3-2 lead.
Now the pitch to Marte. Swung on. That's crushed. Deep right field. Back goes Matos. Turns. Looks. Home run. His second of the day. And the lead continues to grow. It's now 8-2 in favor of Arizona.
2-2 to Muncy is hammered on the right field line. If it stays fair, it's gone. It is fair. It is gone. A 3-run home run for Muncy. His second homer of the year. And the Dodgers lead it 9-3.
Dodgers win at 9-3 the final. Shohei Ohtani leading off with a home run in that game, and the Dodgers pounding the Athletics. You also heard the Diamondbacks going up 8-2. They needed that. The Giants rallied, but the Diamondbacks hold on to win that 8-7. Del Marte going deep twice, and Suarez also homering. And last year we talked about the White Sox, worst baseball team in more than 60 years, breaking a Mets record that had stood for decades. But the White Sox record for futility, we'll see, could be challenged this year. Rockies are off to the worst start in Major League Baseball history through 43 games. They are 7-36. See if they can maintain this level of miserableness for 162 games. Aaron Judge, home run number 15. Yankees beat the Mariners 3-2. Aaron Judge appears on his way to another 50 home run season. We'll see if he does even better than that. But he is flying, leading the major leagues. Bees lose to the River Cats 5-3. Game 2 tonight, 7:45 on 1280 The Zone. Tony Parks on the call at 7:30. DJ and PK.
Hashtag RSL.
Real Salt Lake plays a scoreless game with the Portland Timbers. They'll take home 1 point. They split the points there, but the struggle to score goals continues. They create chances, and people can't finish them. Had a great one at the end of the first half, and Xavier Gozo couldn't score. Had some multiple opportunities. Makeshift back line played pretty well. A lot of guys out, but Noel Caliscan playing it right back for the second time was really good, but they cannot score goals, so drop a couple points at home. And they head to Colorado to play the Rapids Saturday. They are supposed to get Agata back, and we'll see if he can score goals. Get him a start and get him used to the lineup after the midseason trade with him from Kansas City. DJ and PK.
We're at midseason already?
Golf.
Yeah, close to midseason. I mean, 17's halfway, and they just played game 13, so almost there. Golf. PGA Championship underway. Quail Hollow in North Carolina. Ton of rain there, so you figure the long course is going to play even longer, but guys are going to be able to fire away at the flags for birdies after getting 3 inches of rain one day earlier this week. Expecting a birdie fest there?
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, you got to put the ball in play. I mean, the ball needs to go where you want it to go, regardless of the weather.
Ryan Fox, the early leader, 3 under through 7, and Luke Donald in a group of players at 2 under. So is Patrick Fishburne. So they're getting going there, and some early birdies as guys tee off this morning. We'll talk with Bob Casper, Real Golf Radio, coming up at 8:30. Talk to him about the first round of the PGA Championship. Fishburne making his first appearance in one of the major championships. DJ and PK.
Hashtag NHL.
Off the face up in front of Sean Bennett, and he scores a power play goal. Sam Bennett wastes no time. A wrister past the glove hand of Matt Murray, and the Panthers take a 6-0 lead here in Game 5.
Look at it all the way across to Draisaitl to the middle. The shot saved by Hill. The rebound, they're jamming away. Scores! The Edmonton Oilers pour off the bench. They win it 1-0 in overtime and win the series 4-1.
Edmonton knocking the Vegas Golden Knights out in 5 games. Vegas 110 points, third best regular season record, won their division, and they are knocked out.
The knockout round?
Well, for them it is, yes. It's the second round of the playoffs, but they're knocked out. Panthers 6-1 over the Maple Leafs. Florida's up 3-2 on Toronto, and Toronto had the 4th best record, and now they're hanging by a thread, facing elimination, needing back-to-back wins. More elimination games tonight. The Capitals, who had the best record in the Eastern Conference, they're down to the Carolina Hurricanes. They are facing elimination, down 3-1 tonight. And the Jets, who had the best record in the regular season, down 3-1 to the Stars. All 4 division champs made it through to the second round, but all 4 are either out or facing elimination now. 7:30. or 5 o'clock and 7:30 for those games on TNT tonight, with both teams up 3-1 leading those series. Carolina and Dallas trying to close them out. Just a note to our Utah Mammoth. Just get in. You never know what's going to happen. A lot of teams with 100 points either out or in danger of going out.
It's nice of you to give them that note.
What is Trending is brought to you by Shamrock Plumbing. There's no job too big or too small. Get the personal touch with Shamrock Plumbing. Bob Casper at 8:30. Chris Karpman covering Arizona State for Sun Devil Source. Our spring football tour takes us to the Big 12 champs. That's coming up at 9 o'clock this morning. The question of the day is next. Stay with us.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
You've got to play the hand you're dealt. I've always hated the narrative in the NBA that if you don't have LeBron, you're screwed. If you don't have Steph, you're screwed. There's more than one way to acquire talent. There's more than one way to play. I mean, that's the whole point of the coach. How does your strategy give you an edge? How does your culture give you an edge? How does your front office give you an edge? How do you play the hand of having Salt Lake City and Utah? This is why you hire a good general manager. This is where Justin Zanuck and Danny Ainge go to work. Nico Harrison is the luckiest bozo on the dang planet.
He is. Yep.
And he's going to keep his job because now he has a no-brainer decision in front of him. He can't screw it up. This is why you hire those guys in the first place.
Yeah, it is.
To figure it out.
You need guys who can make adjustments on the fly and know what the league rewards and what it doesn't reward, and then how you adjust with the hand you're dealt.
Hear Jake Scott and Ben Anderson every day from 10 to noon on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Join Hans and Scotty G. They're broadcasting live today from noon to 3 at the Dyslexia Center of Utah Golf Tournament at Cedar Hills Golf Club. Question of the morning, Rudy Gobert and Mike Conley in the conference finals for the second consecutive season. Are you rooting for the Timberwolves? Jared with the bright, snappy good morning. Yes, sir! Exclamation point.
Cool.
Sounds like Jack Nicklaus just made a putt. Amy, yep, once a jazz man, always a jazz man.
Okay. Feel that same way about Mitchell then?
It's not what they said.
This is exactly what they said.
Not when we asked him about Mitchell.
Once a jazz man, always a jazz man.
Melody always cheers for our former players. Very happy for these players. Corey says, yeah, there's 4 ex-jazz men on that team. I absolutely hope they make it all the way.
There are 4, but
2 are playing a bigger role than the other 2, right? Joe's barely playing at all.
And he went on the team last year.
Yeah.
So he didn't get back to it.
Vernon, oh, heck yeah. If only we still had them. Remember, as soon as we got rid of Conley and Bogey, we really started losing. Conley really was our catalyst on offense, and Gobert was our everything on defense and our rim protector.
And what about Bogey?
He put the biscuit in the basket. He was there to score it.
He doesn't
shoot it.
Doesn't mention him. Yeah, but he went off the radar, man, since he left. He's haven't played a lick.
Chad, I'm hoping Gobert, Conley, and Ant-Man win it all. It's pretty unanimous here. Guys were traded. They didn't leave on their own. They wanted to be here. People are rooting for him.
You think Conley wanted to be here?
Maybe at the very end when he was the last one out the door, he wasn't super excited about being here anymore. When he saw the writing on the wall, like, all right, let's just move it along. I'm gone.
Yeah, I don't think I don't blame him for not wanting to be here.
Yeah.
He was older. The team was going nowhere.
He wanted to be here while the team was going somewhere.
Who don't? That doesn't make him unusual. That makes him quite common, actually. Sure, I'll be here through the good times. Once the bad times, no, I want out.
No thanks. We can move it along now.
Yeah.
Depending on where you're sending me, and they sent him to a pretty good team, so. You only get on the bad side if people think you want out. Or if you blast on the way out the door. I mean, Ennis Counter, I didn't really like you. Cantor, I didn't like anything. Well, the mountains. That's what I'll remember, the mountains. So if you blast on the way out the door.
He was Enos. Who cares what Enos wanted? It's not on Enos that he was a crappy pick. It's on management.
Didn't play a shred of defense. It's a turnstile there in the middle of the paint. Matt says, Rudy, Mike, Joe, and Nikhil, what's not to like? Just embracing them nonstop. So it's for Gordon Hayward and Donovan Mitchell who wanted out. Those are the only guys who get the wrath. It's a feel-good time for everybody else.
Darren Williams wanted to play here forever and get retired?
Nope. People didn't fall in love with him.
Boozer?
Took the money. I think people did like that he defended Utah in that Miami radio interview.
Howard Isley, Shandon Anderson. There's plenty of them. Well, you just go to Hayward and Mitchell as if they're the only ones.
They were the two most recent ones.
No, can't argue fact.
Right. Well, that's why. That's the fact.
Yeah, but don't be caught up by time. Go to everyone. Give everyone an equal opportunity. Don't single out other guys.
There you go with history again.
Well, freaking Mitchell and Hayward are history.
More recent history.
Nevertheless, they're still history. It's not now. It's been several years since freaking Hayward left.
2017. Hitting the door.
That's pert near 4 years.
Coming up on 8, but yeah.
Yeah, times 2.
Good math.
Right.
Rock solid.
It's really not that unique, though. Most franchises have guys who want to leave. Oh, the glamour spots. Yeah, I thought South Beach is so glamorous. Jimmy Butler wanted out.
Jimmy Butler did want out.
You want now? I'll give you now. I'm fed up with history. So happens all the time. We act like it's unique to us.
Yep.
Because it hurts us when it happens. But it's happened plenty of places.
Multiple people have wanted to leave Miami, usually late in their careers when they want big money, and Pat Riley didn't want to pay him anymore because he figures they're fading and doesn't want to paint himself into a corner financially. So even Dwayne Wade left before he came back.
I'm sick of history, man. How come you can go back that far, but I can't?
You just did, actually. You went back further.
Right, and you criticized me for doing it. I know I did. That's a fact. The point is you criticized me for doing it, and then you just done the same thing.
Well, you implored me to do it, so I did it.
Jesus, Stockton, and Sniggy. Perfect, perfect, perfect. It's everybody else's fault. Man, I wish I were you. Certainly the paycheck, that's for sure. You get 2 massive paychecks. I only get 1 teeny one.
Liar.
Paycheck is why I live in Utah.
I know.
Well done, Yuck.
You saved a school $600,000?
That doesn't really
$600,000. Wow.
Community is why I live in Utah.
I dropped a unity in the community the other day. Somebody laughed like it was a brand new line. Good to have a new audience. Thanks for that line.
I'm just a support player. I know. I've always been just a role player. I understand that. They had me fill out a thing for KSL Sports, something, and awards. I said, nothing.
Oh.
I got nothing for you.
You were columnist of the year.
Yeah,
You're column 1.
What a joke. Yeah, literally one. O-N-E.
1 win.
On something that I wrote in about 20 minutes. Those things are so bogus. My best work has never been recognized. Those things are ridiculous. And then people put them on their bios as if there's something of significance.
Ta-da!
How shallow is that? I'm not only not a senior writer, I'm more of a sophomore writer. I'm very sophomoric in my writing.
How deep do you think the passion goes for the Wolves? People just check the score. I hope they won.
And I think
turn it on for the fourth quarter to watch it.
Rudy ingratiated himself. Conley wasn't here long enough, but he's a good dude, and that's a fact. He's a rich dude. That's even more of a fact. Playing, what do they call it, horse in his own gym. That's pretty sweet.
That was cool.
But I think Rudy will go down as one of the all-time favorites.
And there's something to be said when it's your guy. Like when Boozer left, well, he wasn't really the Jazz's guy. He took the money. It was a business decision. We all understand that. I don't think most people have any problem with that. Who wouldn't do that? He became a free agent. There was some loophole. I don't remember exactly what it was back then, but a handshake agreement or something. I don't remember. And then Kevin O'Connor comes up and gets Larry to approve the money available, and so he takes it. Great. It's a business decision. This is a business, after all. It's entertainment to us, but for these guys, this is their jobs, and so he was going to receive way more money. Who wouldn't have done it? We all would have done it, right? But it's not like he was plucked. Rudy was plucked, and in the G League and all this stuff. Same thing with, to an extent, Mitchell. You know, he was a kid who he dropped a little. Like, you can't go too crazy. If you're taken in the top 15 of all the players eligible in the world to be drafted, you're still a premier player. But I think when you develop somebody and you take him and he becomes yours, in this case, often literally as a teenager now, with the rules being what they are, and then they develop, and then they have success too. And Gobert sets the goals. We all know the story, and he achieved them, and he talked about winning a title here. I think that is about planning as many routes as you can. Same thing clearly, obviously, with the statues. You know, when they were drafted, I don't remember what was said, but I doubt somebody was saying, man, this kid from Gonzaga, I mean, we don't know a whole lot about him, but oh my gosh, he is going to be an all-timer. Probably not, you know, and those guys stayed loyal. So I think that's what you got here. And then with Joe, he doesn't play. He's basically a cheerleader, but still, you know, developed here and had the affection for here. I think that's what ingratiates you to the team. Phoenix is doing it right now with Booker. They found him, so to speak, developed him. He probably would have been the same player if he had gone to wherever, because he's just that good. But Durant is somebody who just comes in. You know, he's an acquisition. He's a commodity. Bring him in there. He plays well. Team doesn't win. Well, now you got to get rid of him. Okay, so there's not going to be any angst of Kevin Durant leaving, right? Because what is he on? His fourth team now? Going to be 5? You don't normally see a player of that caliber move around.
Got to stop and think about all the teams.
Right.
But yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
It's been 4, and it will be 5.
And a player of that caliber normally doesn't bounce around that much.
And if they do, they tend to do it at the end of their career. And he's done it. Well, he's still
he's at the end,
good.
But he's still playing well.
I'm thinking like Shaq bounced around at the end.
Because he wasn't any good.
Who remembers Boston and Phoenix, right?
If he were good, you would.
Yeah.
But he wasn't good.
But we remember Kevin Durant because he's still
he's
out
good.
there.
Yeah. I mean, he had a very nice season. He's fine.
Getting his 20 points and going.
But I don't think there's going to be angst of him leaving. Everyone's going to understand, I would assume, from the folks in the desert that, okay, this is right for the team in the way the letter carrier left. There was no angst of him leaving. The thing had run its course. It had been there for 20 years, plenty good. And, all right, go on, son, and best of luck to you. We hope you have success, but because you went to the Lakers, we hope you don't win. So I think that there's different types of players when they leave, how the fan base appreciates them or views them. And same thing with Lillard. I don't think Lillard he's going to be more of the Malone category of it's run its course. Okay, go ahead and leave. You don't fit the timeline and all that stuff. I think we'll have that same thing with Clarkson. Clarkson, he doesn't fit the scenario of we developed him, but in a sense, he was developed here because he'd been bouncing around and he had his best years here. So even though he wasn't drafted here, he still had his best years. Quinn Snyder put him in a great spot to succeed, and he did on some very good teams. And he's a quirky dude, too. He's odd, and he just has an odd personality. I'm not saying it's bad by any stretch. It's just different than most guys, right?
There aren't many people who, during a game delay, go over to the TV camera that's on, know it's on, and get really low, and then come up in front of the camera like 6 or 8 inches from the lens.
Yeah.
He's just got to... He just marches to the beat of his own drummer.
So if they should move him and then he comes back, I think he gets the same type of, what am I looking for, applause or validation or approval that guys like Ingles had received when they come back. Mitchell was forced.
Hatback had to come on and tell us this is the way you need to do it. Because they don't want, he's a black guy, and it was during the height of all this stuff that was going on. Let's just call it like it is.
It was
right?
highly politicized.
Yeah.
And they
so
did not
they
want
had to do that. They didn't want to look bad because they already have a bad rep. Blah, blah, blah. Unfair or not, it doesn't matter. The perception is, we know what that is. So we had to give him, but I thought it was phony. Not phony's too strong. It wasn't as authentic as it was for Ingles, as it'll be for Clarkson and so on. And some of the guys who have gone on. It was more contrived.
It felt like everything was being examined and everything was under a microscope. It was a weird. It was a weird.
It was a
moment.
referendum on us as racists.
Yes.
Let's just be honest here. That's what it was. And if we didn't show him some kind of love, we were racists.
And it would have been a bad rap, and it would have stuck.
Yeah.
And everybody knew it would have stuck.
Right. And then the smart black guy who's being offered way more money would still come. But it's all about perception.
Boozer came.
Yeah.
Tons of money.
Yeah.
And he left for more money.
Hey, he
Not
went to
tons
Duke,
more.
so we know he's smart.
It's usually your first clue.
Yeah. Right. And so, of course, he came here
Dude
for that
gets
money.
the best of the best.
Right. Yeah. Good for him, man. We all would have made that decision. That was a 1,000% no-brainer.
Oh, yeah. He took heat for it in Cleveland. But
so
everybody
what?
loved it here. Yeah. And then also timing matters. So whatever he might have taken here for leaving because they were able to swing the deal and bring in Al Jefferson, and the team was going pretty good, but it's just half a season in before Jerry quits and D. Will gets traded. And, man, Boozer's off the front page at that point. that was no longer the topic.
Yeah. Well, that's probably the way it should be.
Yeah.
But I do think, though, that you can have some form of forgiveness is such a strong word, but that's the best word I can come up with. Because I think, by and large, with the essentially the non-apology apology that Darren Williams has given repeatedly, he's been accepted. We're gonna look at Darren Williams as a petulant kid at the time, right? And he's made amends.
Over time, he came back, interacted with the club.
Yeah.
Worked with management to accomplish some stuff.
Right. So I think that we've gotten past that. And we can say we got past Mitchell, but I think a large group of people still want to see them lose.
That was what we got. I mean, we were talking about this yesterday. There's definitely people in his corner who want him to win, and there's definitely people who are in the corner of whoever they're playing.
Right.
Knock them out.
I was fine either way myself because he's a basketball player. He's not a political leader or anything. No basketball player is a political leader unless they become a political leader.
And we're here for the story, so as long as he stays in the mix.
Yeah. And he's a heck of a player. It's fun to watch. But they go down. And certainly here, sometimes I think the NBA, you can't root for them. There's nothing you can do. But they ought to recognize after this last lottery, when you traded Doncic and then you get the number one pick and you had a 2% chance and all this stuff, having a Minnesota hoist a trophy, I think would be great for the league because you could say, aha, see?
Yeah.
STFU, buddy. Minnesota? Shut the fetch up. Minnesota winning the title?
Boston and Denver.
Versus Boston or New York?
Boston, Denver, and New York.
OKC?
Maybe Denver, because Denver would be doing it in places that is difficult to win and hadn't won for a long time.
Yeah, and I don't see if Hatback is trying to convince us that Salt Lake is not a small market, how in the world is Denver a small market?
Yeah, Denver in the world of sports is medium. And Minnesota, I think,
but they've
also.
had enormous success with football. They've had enormous success with hockey. John Denver wrote about Denver. He names. I just don't think of Denver as an out-of-the-way place.
Denver doesn't get dumped on the way Salt Lake and Cleveland do. Or really even Indiana.
I would say OKC also.
And Oklahoma City, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, we've had Locke on our show dumping on Oklahoma City.
Right.
It's his least favorite road trip.
So I don't view Denver as some out-of-the-way place. I think Denver is glamorized by John Duschendorf or whatever his name was there before he changed it to Denver. I had a guy, an editor in L.A., and if you lived in L.A. and you made journalism money, it ain't good. And so hardly anybody had houses. We were still trying to make a mark in real estate in an area that was so inflated. And one of these editors, he's about 10 years older than I was, and he used to say, man, his wife keeps talking about, let's move to Colorado. And he painted Colorado as if it was, oh my gosh.
And this is not just a you thing.
No, not at all. That's what I'm saying.
I had a friend from college who stuck it out and found a way to buy a house in Santa Barbara, and he had to take on roommates to do it and all that. And his brother cashed out of Southern California. They'd grown up in Northern California, but he cashed out of Southern California, went to Denver, and Mark came back from a trip, and he's like, he had to find things to spend money on. There's like marble countertops. And my mom was gushing over it. My dad and I were looking at each other. We wanted to throw up on each other. Joe built a palace.
So I don't think of the Nuggets winning as some great advancement for the NBA.
It's still a cold weather, not a glamour spot. But I get you if they ranked it.
Most of the teams in the league are cold weather.
And if they, and Boston and New York are, but they're still seen as glamour spots. Boston's got the history.
Chicago.
Yep.
Milwaukee has.
But Denver's not a top 10 market. It
doesn't matter.
It doesn't carry.
It's perception.
Yeah.
I think it carries just fine.
The perception of Minnesota and Cleveland and Indiana and Utah is definitely lower than Denver.
Right.
But I don't think the perception of Denver's that great.
Oh, I think it's fine. Who outside of Carmelo Anthony, who was itching to leave Denver? I got to get out of here. I don't see it. I don't see it at all. I also don't see why it's viewed as this place, clean air, horses roam free. I just,
big cotton Denver traffic.
Streams. Those mountains, they're way out there. And I look the other way, there's nothing. Yeah. They ain't got nothing that what Denver did that Salt Lake have not did. This place is way more beautiful.
Yeah. Well, Denver has the NFL selling it. They'll show you pictures of the mountains coming back from a commercial break and then back to the game.
Yeah, and you need a telescope.
Until I was there, I didn't realize how far away it was.
Well, you should have asked me. I could have told you.
I think I might have been there before I knew you very well.
Irregardless.
I should have just looked you up. I should have just found you. PK, you're in my future. Tell me about Denver. Who are you again?
So I think if Minnesota finds a way to win, I think it's awesome. Absolutely. I would say, and I normally don't care. I don't root against any pro team, nor do I root for any pro team. But I wouldn't have any problem Minnesota winning it. I think it would be kind of cool. And whoever's the best team that wins it, so be it.
It might be Minnesota. It feels pretty wide open right now.
Yeah, the constant disrespect to OKC.
I know, because they haven't done it before. That's the only reason. Otherwise, they'd...
And Minnesota's got a long history of doing it.
They don't, but at least they've been to a conference final. And on the other side, the Pacers were in a conference final last year, and it was a struggle to get there, and they got there, and they got worked when they showed up. So maybe it'll be different for them this time around. Maybe they got something to build off of.
And maybe OKC doesn't even get there.
Could happen. Denver could get off the deck, win the last 2 games, win the series.
Possible.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be shocking.
Surprising, but not shocking.
Minimally surprising.
I do think
you go
Game
with the
7
home team. You always go with the home team in Game 7, and really just about any game. You still think home court is a big deal.
I think you're overselling that. There were series earlier in the series saying they're going to split the next 2 games, so that was road team's going to win and bounce back.
Yeah, at your core, if you put down money, you're going with the home team. It doesn't matter what you said. It matters.
I don't put down money.
Right. If you did, that's exactly what I'm saying. You would. There's no doubt in my mind. I can undersell it, oversell it, whatever sell it. If you put down money, you would, and that's fine. Don't be defensive. Even you could be wrong, but don't be defensive.
Bob Casper, Real Golf Radio co-host, joins us at 8:30. Chris Karpman, covering Arizona State for the Sun Devil Source. Our spring football tour at 9 o'clock. PGA Championship at 8:30. Stay with us right here on The Zone.
Accessing.
This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G.
Kurt Heelan from NBC Sports and ProBasketballTalk.com.
Ultimately, if you're in a market this size, you need a break. And this lottery did not give it to you. And it hasn't under this new system. I mean, look, Detroit turned it around this year because they'd gotten the number one a few years back with Cade, and they made some smart moves around him. But this is the third straight year the team with the worst record has fallen to fifth. The league has to reconsider how they're doing this lottery. I get that this was a reaction to the tanking of the 76ers and the process. But if the team that's got the worst record keeps landing this deep, it's not okay. They need to do something to give these teams like Utah that are not perpetually trying to lose and give them a chance.
Catch Hans and Scotty weekdays from noon to 3 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The artist of the day is New Order, brought to you by Live Nation. For all the live concerts and events in 2025, check out livenation.com. DJ PK, we got a question up on our Facebook page. As fresh as today's headline, BYU introducing Brian Santiago as the new athletic director. Do you believe he will lead with love and compassion?
And he talked about that. I think he deserves the opportunity to show that he can do that. I don't care you played somebody in a pickup game and he called you a fetcher or what have you. All that stuff. Brian Santiago needs to be judged starting today. What was then is exactly that.
What was then is then. What is now?
Yes.
Let's hear the full quote.
We are who we are, and I feel like I can stand with confidence in who I am. I think that part of my competitive nature came with me when I was born into this world. But what I'd say to those people is that I can't wait to get to know them better, and they're going to see that I'm not the same person now that I was 27 years ago. Through a lot of incredible mentors, through a lot of incredible leaders, some of the presidents of this university that I've had a chance to work closely with, from President Bateman to President Samuelson to President Worthen to now President Reese. These are people that have helped mentor and really show me that you can be competitive, you can be super passionate, but you can also do it in a way with love and compassion so that, it kind of takes some of that edge off.
Right. And it's a job that demands an edge. I mean, when I first read this, when you posted it, it's like, yes, and there are moments you need that, right? And we could bring on lots of former ADs, and they can tell you about one-on-one meetings with athletes and that. But at some point, somebody makes hard decisions about who gets hired and who gets fired and who gets passed over. And you can try to come with love and compassion in those moments, but those can be really hard moments in life. So there'll probably be some blowback.
Of course. It's the nature of the job.
Right. It really is. So a little, to just say, he's going to lead with love and compassion, man. There's going to be times, who gets money in their budgets. I mean, you talk to coaches when microphones are off and cameras are off, and I know you have, and people can get really bitter. They can get really bitter.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah, but that. So
you're going to hear the public's
please everybody,
right? No, they're not.
And the public's not going to be.
The public's going to hear stuff. It's a tightly wired community, and so everybody knows somebody who knows somebody who knows the brother of this assistant coach,
which is
or whatever.
Where we're at now at trivial stuff to an extent.
Yeah.
He blew somebody off at the father-son's camp, and he didn't embrace him and kiss him on the cheek or on the back of the hand or something, so you were offended. Yep. I get that myself. I had some guy come tell me, I went on that Jazz Beach Bash, man, and you were so rude. I don't remember. I don't remember at all.
Yeah.
And I just had the other day, I did a couple weeks ago, I did an assignment that I thought it was all that, and then I find out somebody says, oh, man, before the camera came on, he was grumpy. What? What? But I mean, that's the way you're perceived, and
it happens to everybody. I had that as recently as last weekend.
So
I was really mad at somebody. Actually, I wasn't.
Oh, but man, your wrath. Katie barred the door. That's all I'm saying.
When I get going.
But see, I would rather have someone who needs to tone it down rather than ramp it up. And think about this, man. He is a literal bulldog. He is. Okay. Where did he go to high school?
Where did he go to high school?
Provo High.
There it is. So he's a bulldog.
Where did he go play D1 basketball? Fresno State.
He's a bulldog again.
He's a bulldog twice over. What do you expect?
There it is.
He's a bulldog. That's in his blood.
Who wins if a bulldog fights a cougar?
A bulldog.
I need one of those amazing nature videos.
He's a bulldog. I don't want to see that. That always makes me cringe. Why would you want to see two animals, one die? Look at you. How grotesque are you?
Who says they would die?
Badly wounded.
You got to have the video right now.
We got it. That's what you just done.
Not everybody has it.
We got it. Yeah. It's up to you. Get on KSLSports.com and you can click on the video and you can see us. And that was your response. I don't want to see every time I watch that, I turn that. I feel uneasy. It gives me agita to see animals going at it. I know that happens. I can't even see a picture of a guy who just shot an animal and holds it up as if it's some type of accomplishment. That makes me queasy. I've never held a gun in my life. I'm not a hunter.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. But yeah, if two bears are fighting, I usually watch the video.
I've been the huntee. Yeah, but bears, I mean, that's it. I'm talking about when one is significantly bigger than the other. A shack fighting a spud web. Spud web, I don't want to see the animal's blood and be shattered. And you find that as entertainment? I think we've learned a lot about you this morning.
There's a great video of a cat fighting off 3 coyotes. That was awesome. Totally out of his weight class, outnumbered.
Right.
Cat
but
ran him off.
Suppose it doesn't happen.
No, I don't know if the video gets posted. They got posted because that's unusual.
You just
you got dog bites
the
man,
Animal
man
Channel
bites dog.
And all these other things. No. They're out there, buddy. I know what you do in your free time. I try to uplift. You're watching savage beatings.
You can hang out with Brian Santiago.
I have.
Cool.
And that's why I want to give him the benefit of the doubt, because I'm going to allow him. He came in literally as a 20-something-year-old kid. He's not that anymore. He deserves the opportunity to show us that he has matured in the manner that he said he has.
It's almost 30 years ago, right?
Yes,
he hasn't
27.
been at BYU. Yeah, okay, 27.
Yeah, he reiterated time after 27 years.
Yes.
I knew it hadn't been 30, but I knew it was getting close.
I was covering the team at that time. That's when I got to know Steve Cleveland. I sat in Steve Cleveland's office many times because he was very open. It's just the nature of the guy he is.
There's a lot of stories about that.
And Santiago was in the office. He did not have his own office. He just had
you said he had the desk in the corner.
It was
of Steve's
a large office in the Marriott Center.
It was a big space.
Yeah, and so he had the front there. So I'd be having conversations with Steve Cleveland, and Santiago would be right there. When Bigelow committed, when they were trying to build the thing, I'm talking, Steve, I got to take this. Yeah. Okay. Puts the phone down. Okay, thank you. Ah! Dave Rose, get in here! And I'm standing there, I'm sitting there, and they're all celebrating. And so I've known Santiago since the beginning. And sure, he was rough around. He acknowledges it. This is no secret. He's saying it. And give him the opportunity to develop. Let's see what he can do. I will tell you this. I feel completely confident in saying this. Whatever he has, he will give to this job without question. He'll give everything he has.
Well, there's a lot of people on the administration side who are doing that long before they get promoted to whatever they are. So there's already a track record there.
Plus, he worked for it, man. He came in as basically Steve Cleveland's administrative assistant. I don't know that he had a title. And so if it was go get me lunch, he went and got him lunch, right? Whatever and he
whatever
worked his way
operations
up.
title he had.
He worked his way up, and at the Homo press conference in February, I'm talking to him, and he's saying, I really want this, man. I really, really want this. And I said, I hope you get it then. And he got it.
But when you hear the second and third hand stories, know the job demands. I mean, it's a cutthroat world out there, and the job's going to demand hard decisions getting made.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Obviously.
It is.
It's not going to be all sunshine and rainbows, but what is?
Facts. But when we sit here, you said he was going to lead with love and compassion. I mean, the rubber's going to meet the road at some point, and hard decisions will be made, and feelings will be hurt. And when you take a leadership job, that's what you sign up for.
Oh, yeah, and you're literally leading hundreds?
Athletic departments are getting enormous.
Yeah.
I mean, football teams are getting enormous, and that's just a portion.
Coaches, analysts, and all these things,
you couldn't name all the employees in a football program. There probably was a time you could as a beat writer.
Oh, yeah,
when the staffs were smaller and you were around every day. You know, you recognize equipment people and assistant trainers and, people who aren't as front-facing.
Yeah.
But now...
Right.
It's impossible. Yeah, you're not around as much, and there's way more people to know.
Right.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Coming up in the 8 o'clock hour, going to the PGA Championship. Bob Casper, Real Golf Radio co-host, will join us. Birdies are flying early. We'll get to that with him and Chris Karpman covering Arizona State for the Sun Devil Source Spring Football Tour at the top of the 9 o'clock hour. Stay with us.
Go ahead and nominate the youth sports volunteer that you know and love for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Submit your nomination at kslsports.com/contest and listen every Thursday afternoon. And I believe, folks, that's today. And by Thursday afternoon, of course, I mean to JJ and Alex for the winner. Help us celebrate the efforts of those volunteers making an impact with the Hercules Hero of the Week, sponsored by Hercules First Federal Credit Union and Beehive Meals. I know what you said, man. When I coached T-ball, there were some hard decisions. And so I was not universally loved.
What was the hardest decision?
Made sure my kid had the best advantages.
When I was coaching, it was about the yelling. I'm not yelling because I'm mad. I'm yelling to be heard. The wind is blowing, and the kids are 40, 50 yards away. Hey!
No, sure, to an extent.
Move up!
But if you got reached ball 3 on a weak hitter, I let the pitcher know about it. So it was a combination.
Throw a strike!
Yeah. No, I wore out a path from the dugout to the mound. Teach them when they're young, man. This is a competitive world out there. This ain't no straw and a juice and a Twinkie for everybody.
I see you coaching. I immediately get Vic Morrow and the Bad News Bears coaching the Yankees, drawing a line.
Play to win.
Throw the ball.
Yeah, you want that? That's you go over there and get the other stuff. No, I was coaching as if they were comp ball right from the start. Winners and losers.
Put a question up here on Facebook with the Knicks Celtics series. Would have been different for small guards like Jimmer and others if they got the chance to be ball dominant like Jalen Brunson.
And I want to see how far the Knicks can go because Brunson has the ball in his hands a lot. Right?
A ton.
Yeah, and he didn't get that in Dallas. So he was a nice player, and he showed it here when the Jazz lost some games when Doncic was out.
Doncic was out, and he had a chance to have the ball more, and it went well for Dallas.
Right.
It went really well.
Yes.
And the Knicks pounced.
And then he becomes the free agent, blah, blah, blah. And now he's developed himself into a big-time player. And with the emphasis going away from the post players in the way when we grew up, get the ball to big fella, and Charles Barkley pounding it onto the pavement.
The floor is spread for Jalen Brunson in a way it wasn't spread for ball dominant guards who came before him.
No question.
Yeah.
And so there was no such thing as ball dominant guards. Basically, it was come to a hop stop and make a bounce pass.
Okay, it wasn't going back that far, Coach.
Well, essentially it was.
It was not. Steve Nash was dribbling all over the place. He was a ball-dominant guard.
Yeah, but not in the manner of shooting. He was more of the Stockton ball dominant. You had those types of players, though. Nash was, and he got 2 MVPs out of it, so you're absolutely right. I cannot argue with you.
And deep
but I would
playoff
say,
runs. I mean, he's been where Jalen Brunson is right now.
No question, but they had a phenomenal team. I think, and that's to take nothing away from Steve Nash, but I think was Steve Nash more John Stockton or was he more Brunson? We're going to go Stockton.
That's a good debate. It feels like it was in transition. I've told you before, I feel like Nash is underrated. I feel like the game was changing. And honestly, I feel like some of the things he did have been lost and should be brought back. The way he would drive and the layup's not there because the big guy's there and he turns, he's underneath the hoop, he might even be underneath the backboard. He's looking for the reverse layup, and while the shot blocker's still looking at him thinking, if you put that up, I'm going to slap it away. Stoudemire comes crashing down the lane. He just shovels him the ball, and it's just a massive dunk. That would still work today. I mean,
dunks work.
For the Jazz, but a guard driving and pivoting and spinning around.
Dribble, I get that.
And Markkanen comes crashing down. 7-foot guy, he'd get tons of dunks. And everybody's got somebody like that.
Phoenix had some great dunkers.
Right. If Brunson did it, Karl Anthony Towns could come flying down the lane. And who would want to get in the way of that guy? You turn around, you see him coming, and he gets up in the air first, you're getting dunked on.
And I put Jimmer up there because he was the local example. Obviously, he had the ball in his hands so much when he was a college player.
Yeah,
and he never had that opportunity in the pros. Not to say he could do it.
What Brunson has, well, I mean, he's got a lot of stuff, but what he has that other elite guards have struggled with, and Jimmer certainly struggled with it, is when you're Brunson's size, when you're anybody who's under, 6'3", 6'4", you're going to get to a point of playoff where a good team is going to find a really good defender who's in the 6'6" to 6'9" range, and possibly 2 of them, and they're going to take the ball out of your hands, and they're going to double you. And for whatever reason, and maybe it's to your point about how spread the floor is, Brunson handles that. And that ultimately shuts down a lot of smaller players. It's like you can be super athletic, but eventually you're going to run into somebody who's bigger and super athletic. And you can have a high basketball IQ, but eventually you run into a bigger athlete who also has a high basketball IQ. And you can be super motivated and work hard and watch film. Yeah, but that 6'6", 6'9" guy does that too. And when you run into that guy, and we could probably sit here and come up with a list of 10 small, athletic, smart guards, and they got to a conference final or an NBA final, and then what's on the other team? Bigger guys. Now, is Brunson going to negotiate all that? And if he does, is the difference that he had something none of these other guys had, or the way the game is played, they got to come further to double him now. There's more space in the paint for him when he gets to the rim. There are definitely some built-in advantages, and this is why it's hard to compare players across eras because they keep changing the rules.
I think that as you relate it to the Jazz, if they put the ball in Collier's hands more, and he had the ball a lot, could he be that effective? Now, he would have to be able to pass the ball because he's not the shooter that Brunson is. But let's see what he can do. I don't remember what kind of shooter Brunson was in his early days in the NBA because I wasn't really watching him. Nobody was watching him. He was just a guy on a roster.
Right. And even then, though, the shots he got were different. If you're playing with Luka Doncic and you're playing off the ball,
right? But I mean, just pure shooting ability. Pure shooting. I'm talking about. Yeah. I don't know what he was.
Yeah, there weren't as many shots to be seen.
No, not at all. Not at all. And so, could he have been doing this for Dallas? And but Doncic was there, and so obviously you're going to have him do it. I just wonder if we'll see some more changeover, and we won't necessarily be caught up in somebody, what they can't do or how short they are, if they're as effective as Brunson. And given the nature of the game has changed dramatically. You could argue that of our professional sports, 20 years ago, basketball has changed the most. More than football, more than baseball.
Yeah, they both had changes, but
I mean, they have.
But basketball is very different.
I think it's dramatically different than the way it used to be, and the rules have. I think they changed the rules to meet the need to change the rules. Not we'll change the rules and then the players adapt to the rules. The rules adapted to the players, because every coach will have a loophole. If there's any loophole to be found, they will find it.
Yes. And we've heard coaches, GMs, commissioners talk about this sport has such athletic people.
The best.
And in their moments of their greatest athleticism, it's obvious. The fans are up out of their seats. The big block, the poster dunks, guys that big, moving that fast.
Sleek.
Yeah, and meeting midair. I mean, it is so dramatic.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take any analysis. You just sit at a game and watch people react. What do they react to? And so the fact that they were minimizing the athleticism, that the players who are, I mean, they're all amazing athletes. Like the worst guy in the NBA is an amazing athlete. But by comparison, that the lesser athletes in the league had this even playing field and could foul and be physical. Think of all the stuff they've cut out over the years with hand checking. You used to be able to put your hand on a guy's waist. That guy can't drive. Yeah, no kidding. He's being held. Right. So they've constantly, as every other sport has, they've made the rules better for the offense because that's where the athleticism is most on display.
Right. These guys, to me, they're like the Olympic sprinters. Mm-hmm. Everybody's attracted to the Olympic sprinters and to watch them. They look like locomotives running down.
It's unbelievable.
The
it's
path.
So impressive.
And these guys here look like that to me when they're doing the running and the jumping and all the stuff that
it's why the NFL's
so awesome.
The NFL's changed the rules to show off the wide receivers. Because right now, if I say John Jefferson the catch, you can see him absolutely. It looks like he's been photoshopped. It looks like he's flying a complete extension, and he makes the catch.
Right.
And then I didn't know about it at the time. I'm probably in junior high, and he makes a diving catch and rolls into the end zone to win a game in overtime. And the writers are writing it's the second great, and he was talking about it's the second greatest catch he's ever made. And I'm like, I was amazed. All my friends were amazed, but he'd had a better one in college. We just didn't know about it. It's a different era.
You should have called me.
I should have. I totally should have. Because it was a while, and then somebody printed the picture, and I saw the picture. I'm like, no way.
And it was against the Cats.
Yeah, and they printed it. Somebody found it and printed it in the paper. And he's just, I'm like, okay, well, that was better.
Right. So,
but that athleticism, you want to change the rules and put that athleticism on display.
Absolutely.
And the NFL did it earlier than the NBA, so you're right. Over the last 20 years, the NBA has done more of it.
I find Brunson entertaining. I had this discussion with Jake Scott. He's probably listening when you were gone a week or so ago. He took a day off, and he finds ball-dominant guards unappealing. I find Brunson crafty and how he gets it done, and he's the underdog because he's smaller in a tall man's game. And so I'm drawn to the underdog because that's how I viewed myself and still do. But I find him, when he has success, I find it entertaining.
I always find it entertaining trying to watch little guys beat the big guys. You know, they're at such a disadvantage. And I think the only thing, without talking to Jake, is that it is cool in basketball when the ball really moves. 3 or 4 quick passes. You know, what Joe Ingles brought to the Jazz, that ability to make a pass, which is you so accurately analyzed. He knows where the ball's going before he gets there. And we have Pablo on Fridays. You can ask him about that. And if he could wish anything for players, is that they know where the ball is going before it gets to them. And he'll talk about how you ought to scan the field. And some players scan it, and in basketball, the court, every 6 seconds, every 4, every 2. But your eyes are constantly moving. Who's open, or where's the space? Throw it to him and let him go get it.
Yeah.
And we hear that with quarterbacks. Throw guys open. Becomes a cliche. But you throw it to the space, you let the elite athlete go get it. Or in soccer, you kick it to the space, whatever.
Right, and that is beautiful to see in basketball. Yeah, when the ball stops, it can get a little tedious. So when the ball moves, it is more fun. But I also think that he can do both.
And Brunson, he's the little guy. And the little guy always, with the exception of Isaiah, is the beloved guy. I knew as soon as they said always, I'm like, PK's going to find the exception and get me. Okay, so Isaiah wasn't beloved, but so many little guys are. I mean, it was Stockton here, but we were in the era when Spud Webb, that was incredible. He's a little guy, cut everybody's attention. Muggsy Bogues, same way, cut everybody's attention. But you don't have to be that little.
No.
You know, the Steve Nash 6-footer who's getting super rare in the NBA. I suppose Donovan is pretty close to that right now.
Yeah, but I would like, if the guys can play, that's what I'm saying, man. I mean, Curry isn't big. If they can play and be effective, put them out there.
Best player under 6'6" in NBA history? Maybe Oscar Robertson, because I think he was 6'5". I think Curry's listed as 6'4". Now, who knows? Oh, right there, yeah. Yeah, Jerry West would be in that 6'2", 6'3" range, I think. You stood next to him. He was taller than you, but he didn't tower over you.
Correct. That's why I said, what was Jerry West?
And when and I saw him in Santa Barbara at a game once, and I was thinking, how tall was he? Yeah, I bet he's 6'2", 6'3", without looking it up. Although listed people lie. Listed heights all the time. Yeah.
Having been around him when I was down there.
DJ PK, when we come back, the PGA Championship is underway. How low will they go given all the rain? We'll talk first-round coverage with Bob Casper. Real Golf Radio next.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present...
This is JJ and Alex.
Now, every team has been assigned a Heisman contender. If you were going to pick somebody who'd win the Heisman Trophy, the Heisman Trophy is built for numbers. The Heisman Trophy is built for flash. And Devin Dampier for Utah could actually give you both of those things. If you're actually going to list somebody on every team, fine, that's fun. And Utah, I think if you're really talking about it, inside the state of Utah, the person who would actually have the ability to be able to do it, I think is Devin Dampier.
I agree with you. If he is able to do the things he did at New Mexico on a Power 4 stage and is even more productive in the past game, he's going to make some noise. Is it going to be Heisman noise? Utah would have to have a remarkable season. He has the type of skill set and he has the type of electricity that will get that kind of attention when he's successful.
Catch JJ and Alex afternoons from 3 to 6. Presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ PK, we're joined by Bob Casper from Real Golf Radio. He is at the PGA Championship, Quail Hollow. Bob, good morning.
How you doing, guys?
Good. I'm watching some clips and all the stories about the rain and the soggy golf course. It looks like the sun is out, but guys are racking up birdies here, Bob. Everybody, there's 10 guys at 3 under midway through the first round. I guess that's all the rain on the greens, right?
Well, the thing is that the greens have what's called the sub-air system in them.
So they got the water
like
out?
They do at Augusta. Yeah, so they can suck the water out of it. Now, the fairways are a different story. They don't have it in the fairways like they do at Augusta National. Brian and I were out on the golf course yesterday walking, and we were on the 16th fairway, a downhill sloping fairway, and the mowers were running down the fairway and pushing about a 4-inch wall of water off the front of the mowers as they were cutting the fairway. So it's still moist and wet in the fairways, which means if the balls hit in the fairway, they're going to hold up a little bit and stay in the fairway more. But the greens are definitely bouncing out. Seen a lot of shots in walking the back nine with Tony Finau and Rory and those guys. Balls hitting in the green short of the flag and big high bounce 10, 15 feet past the hole and not stopping very well. So these guys really got to they got to really hit some precise shots and make some good putts, and that's what's kind of causing everything to go this week.
How much do you believe in the phrase horses for courses, meaning some guys are just made to play some courses better than others? Well,
PK, the fact is that there are certain courses that guys really, really like. And, you look at Tiger. Tiger won Memorial, I think, 8 times. He won the Arnold Palmer Invitational like 8 times. He won at Torrey Pines like 8 times. Those are courses that he really, really loved to play, and they were always on his schedule. So it is. Rory is struggling a little bit, hitting the ball left off the tee at the start of his PGA Championship. But you know what? There's a lot of golf still to be played. He's only probably, I think he's at even par, maybe 1 over par. And, there's still a lot of golf.
Are you ahead of us? I got him at 1 under.
Well, what did he make on 16?
They haven't posted it. They haven't posted it yet.
Okay, so yeah, he was 1 under 4 going to 16. He kind of butchered that up a little bit, and I don't know if he made a bogey or if he made a double bogey there. So,
did you hear or read the Hunter Mahan quote?
No. It sounded like it would have come from you, PK. I read that quote and I go, oh, Patrick.
Now, for those who didn't hear it, I will read it. And Hunter Mahan said, I guess you would say Quail Hollow is like a Kardashian. It's very modern, beautiful, and well kept, but it lacks a soul or character.
That is an awesome quote. That is a phenomenal quote.
What a great quote, isn't that?
Hunter Mahan in the lead for quote of the year. Everybody else is chasing him right now on the PGA Tour.
So what does that mean, lacks a soul or character? I get what the other part means.
This is a big, beautiful property. We were standing out on the back of the 17th tee yesterday, and I couldn't believe how pretty it was. We could see 14, we could see 15 tee balls, we could see 16 coming down the green, 17, and then we had walked up the 18th, and it's beautiful. I mean, it's framed well. It's nice and green. You got the contrast with the bunkers. You've got the pine straw around the pine trees that are down the sides of the fairways and stuff. It's gorgeous, okay? But a lot of guys say that it's just as far as the golf course is concerned. It's not great. It's not fantastic. It's not an Augusta National or some of the other courses in the game as far as majors are concerned or PGA Tour events. But you know what? It's a PGA Championship this week, and there's going to be a major championship winner.
I'm still trying to figure out what that means, and I'm thinking, well, it's a long course, but is it a clever course? I mean, the thing about it, and first off, let's not compare anything to Augusta because Augusta's magical, and that's just lots of great courses are going to compare poorly, right? But I think to hold Augusta up as an example, the holes where there's the risk reward. Like, what are you doing? This swing right now, it could lead to a birdie, it could lead to a bogey based on what you decide and how well you execute it, as opposed to a long course where if I hit it a long way and how deep is the rough and where can I miss, and okay, fine.
Yeah. You know, Justin Thomas said this week, this golf course doesn't take a lot of imagination off the tee. You just go out and hit it hard with the driver on the par fours and the par fives. The par threes are pretty good, especially the 17th hole. It's probably in the green mile, 16, 17, and 18. The 17th hole is the toughest hole of those three holes. And the green mile, 16 is 529 yards, 17 is 223, and 18 is pushing 500 yards too. But 17 is the toughest hole of the three, and it's a par three. So, having said that, like you said, it's just a big brute of a golf course. It's the second longest course in major championship history. And you just got to hit it, man. You just got to hit it, and you got to make some putts. Everything is this golf course. Of course, you got to hit it in the fairway off the tee, but it, like JT said, doesn't require a lot of imagination. Where you have to get the ball closest with your shots, your approach shots into the green, and then you got to make putts. You absolutely got to make putts.
Several years back, probably about 4 or 5, I was down in Phoenix, and I ended up running into Tony's father, and watching Tony, obviously. And so I walked with him for about 5, 6 holes, and he was very delightful to talk to. And he was talking about, nothing compares to when Tiger is playing because the gallery is just so enormous, and it always is. You always know what's happening on that hole because you could hear the crowd. Now, obviously, he's been down for a bit. I'm wondering who, if anybody, equates to that or comes close to that as far as the galleries having the interest in watching them.
It's collective, PK. It's collective now. You've got Tiger. You got Tiger on his own was the one that drew everybody, but now you've got Scheffler and you've got Rory and you've got Xander. We were, moving a half a hole ahead of Tony as we were walking on the golf course this morning, And so we're walking into Rory and Scheffler and Xander, 10, 15 deep on every hole. And that's what you would see with Tiger, 10, 15 deep. You couldn't really walk and watch him unless you were pretty tall. And so that's what you get with a collective. And I don't know that we're going to see anybody like Tiger in the near future, other than if Scotty Scheffler gets on a roll again, and he might get to 20, 25 wins in the next year or two, and then we're going to see him be the guy that's going to kind of take the torch.
So even guys like Spieth or Koepka, I mean, there's guys out there with multiple majors. They don't match those other three?
No, I don't think so. Not right now. Spieth at one point in time in 2015 he did, when he had a chance to, he wins the Masters in 2015. He then goes and wins the U.S. Open in 2015, has a chance go into the last two holes of the Open Championship and misses the playoff by one shot, and then has a chance at the PGA Championship at Whistling Straits when Jason Day won and finishes, second there. So that year, Spieth was the guy that was kind of pushing the Grand Slam in 1 year like Tiger had done, and I think that was another guy that kind of set the golf world on its ear because of what he was trying to do, where, Rory has done the same thing this year with getting the career Grand Slam, and that kind of has set the golf world on its ear so far this year as well.
And that's amazing, Bob. As you say that, you talk about Jordan Spieth, and I still view him as a youngster, but you're talking about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
That's a long time in the life of a professional athlete to think that, wow, we're 10 years removed. How long can a golfer stay at his peak? Because that is so difficult.
Tiger was a different animal. He was amazing in that he had some crazy good years, and then he would break off a little bit, still win one or two events, but his good years he was winning 7, 8, 9, 10 events. There's really not anybody that can do that right now, and it seems like the guys right now have windows of opportunity, and they need to take advantage of those windows of opportunity, like Jordan Spieth, like Justin Thomas, like Rory, Scotty Scheffler winning, 7 or 8 times, 9 times last year. You got to do the things that will keep you in the best position possible, the best health physically possible, and then just try to keep things on an even keel and going on a year-to-year basis. And, unfortunately, Scotty, got a late start this year because he had that accident when he was making, ravioli with his family over Christmas, and punctured his hand with the stem of a wine glass, had to have surgery. And then it was, he didn't have his normal start. He's finally back in the swing of things with how he played a couple of weeks ago at the Byron Nelson when he shot 31 under par and won. He gets his first win for the year. But Jordan Spieth's another one. He had a cyst on his wrist, had to have surgery. He's still trying to get back in swing. Xander Schauffele had some problems with his ribs and his back. He's still trying to get back in the swing of things after a great year last year, winning 2 major championships. But Tiger had those also. He had to have knee surgeries. There's a lot, back surgeries. There's a lot of things that go along with trying to physically keep yourself up to par, and then your body breaking down a little bit.
Well, Bob, we appreciate the time. I will always be curious if you would have brought the Hunter Mahan quote up or if PK was only – I didn't know it.
I wouldn't have brought it up, but, leave it to PK. He'll do it.
I'm glad he did.
That's
an
why
awesome
I'm here.
Quote. Exactly right.
That's right.
That's an awesome
That's right.
quote.
And I love it. That was so awesome.
All right, thank you, Bob. We appreciate it.
All right, guys. We'll talk to you later.
Bob Casper, Real Golf Radio. He and Brian Taylor are there, and they will have updates all day today, all day tomorrow, every show. They'll be joining and bringing everybody up to date on whatever has happened at the PGA Championship. And, of course, you can catch their show Saturday morning right here on The Zone. DJ and PK, Chris Karpman covering Arizona State. We're talking Big 12 champs. The spring football tour continues at 9:05 with Chris right here on The Zone.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
Christian's never seen Almost Famous because you and I are both ancient. One of the best movies ever. And Earl is the lead singer. Jason Lee.
Jason Lee, who started his career as a professional skateboarder. Do you know that? He's like one of the greatest skateboarders of all time. And was like, I'm going to shift into being a big-time actor.
Scientologist.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, cool.
What do you mean? Isn't it a well-known fact that Jason Lee is a Scientologist?
I just thought it was a little irrelevant to the story, but...
Well known to one out of the three of us.
I don't know. I was thinking of all the things that I know about Jason Lee. Ben dropped this skateboarder thing in there, which seemed fairly fascinating. I just happen to know the guy's a Scientologist. That's all.
What are you implying? About Jason Lee today.
What are you saying? I wasn't saying anything negative about him. I just pointed it out. Scientologist.
Hear Jake Scott and Ben Anderson every day from 10 to noon on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Question of the day up on our Facebook page. Rudy Gobert, Mike Conley are in the conference finals for the second consecutive season. Are you rooting for the Timberwolves? And PK, there is unity in the community. The answer is yes. People are rooting for him, partly because of Rudy, Mike, a lot of people mentioning the other guys. I mean, Joe Ingles is obviously wildly popular here. He's also at the point in his career where he's barely playing at all. And I don't think he is playing at all in the playoffs, even in the regular season, though. I think he got 3 or 4 minutes at the end of a blowout here in Utah, and it was like the most time he'd had in a month.
Right.
Combined. He hadn't played 3 minutes in the previous month.
I know he wants to be on a roster next year. Maybe he can do it. Looks like a long shot to me.
It looks like a long shot.
But he's up. He's always up. First guy up, talking to the guys.
Yeah.
He's engaged. Good teammate.
Laughing at guys on the court. I've seen him. He's provoking people from the sideline.
Yeah. Doing what he does.
Keeping the morale up on the bench.
He's a needler.
Yeah. He loves that stuff. So I guess it's the adopted team for the rest of the playoffs. We got 6 teams in, and it feels like that's the team most people would like to see win out of the 6 that are left.
I'm fine with any of the 3 in the West.
Minnesota, Denver, OKC?
Yes.
Everybody's got an angle. To me, there's a story with everybody. Did the Pacers finally break through?
There usually is.
They're close again.
I would say no.
And they've been close before. Yeah, probably. Do you think anybody has a 50% chance now with 6 teams left?
If Jason Tatum is miraculously healed, yes.
That's not happening. I think Oklahoma City is the favorite, but not overwhelming.
I don't think they're ready to be a great team that is invincible. So the fact that Denver is giving them stuff is not surprising at all.
Well, Denver's starting 5 is awesome, but the bench is not, and it's hamstringing them game after game. I mean, they're getting outscored 22-10. The bench is getting outscored 35-8.
Can't pay everybody.
And there it is.
It's the nature of the league. But I could see any of these teams from the West winning or getting to the final, and then we'll see who's available. Minnesota, to me, I think right now seems to have the most. But you know how much of a test did they get? Because obviously Curry going down is a major blow. I could argue it's even more major than Tatum going down because Boston has other guys, and the Warriors outside of Butler don't really have anybody that I could look at and say, okay, yeah, he could pick up the slack. Whereas Boston, maybe not force the whole way to win it all, but any particular game, if Boston were to win, that's not surprising.
Well, Game 5, for instance.
Yeah.
Their starters are really good. The starters shot the 3 really well.
Right. And they got a couple guys that they can play off the bench.
They're playing with energy. Right. They were desperate.
Maybe OKC isn't ready quite yet,
and that's
but they're
why,
on the road.
And that's why I wouldn't put them as a better than 50% chance.
But I would go, coming out of the West, I'd give them all the 33 1/3. Maybe Denver, not as much because they're just down one game. And
we've seen their
they've
flaw.
They've got to go 2-0.
We've also seen their flaw, and it's going to get them. I mean, they've really labored to get to this point. Are they going to win 10 more games and win the championship?
I probably wouldn't put that. But to get out of if it was 3-3, I'd give them an equal chance. But it's not. It's 3-2. And they sort of folded down the stretch when it looked like they were going to win Game 5. But they can win over there. They've already proven that. Minnesota, they seem to have a little mojo right now. And maybe it's false because they got to take advantage of the injury to Curry, but they took advantage of it, and now they get to rest a little bit. And Edwards is a premier player, and they've got DiVincenzo, all sorts of talent off the bench. I mean, he's a nice player.
He is.
He reminds me of a more athletic Harpring.
We've had 6 different champions in the last 6 years. So I think the idea that we should be out there looking for a great team. Maybe Oklahoma City is, everything goes right and they turn out to be a great team and they win, 3 of the next 5 or 6 titles or whatever.
I don't know about that, but they will get a title.
But right now, I don't know if it's about being a great team. It's just about playing the best basketball over the next 4 to 5 weeks.
It's a 16 first.
And you get your one and then figure out the rest later. I don't know that any of these recent teams we've seen are great champions. They haven't done it again. Well, Golden State, because they were getting the last one in the dynasty in this run. So just get across the finish line. And if you're a one-and-done team, the way the Bucks were and the way the Raptors were,
so what?
And maybe the way the Nuggets and Celtics will turn out to be, we'll see.
So what?
Yeah, so what? Right.
I don't care.
Indiana's right there with Milwaukee and Utah and whoever else. Just get one. Indiana's been close multiple times.
Right, celebrate and go nuts. I think that here locally, Gobert is the most favored player because he connected in a manner, not like Joe, but Joe had more going on in his life with the kid and the kids and his wife. Rudy didn't have that. So he wouldn't have had that connection. And Joe and his wife wanted to be out. She was on committees in the community and everything. It was really amazing to see. I mean, they're foreigners, but they spoke the language, so it's a little bit different. But the connection that they made, and Joe's on the team, and he would he would be on a title-winning team. Obviously, he wouldn't have contributed as much. If you're on a team, you can contribute in a manner that necessarily the public doesn't see and the fans don't see. And so go ahead, whatever role you're asked to do, go ahead and do it. And Joe has been really good about doing that. But I think Rudy is the most favored son. I think of all the ex-Jazz players in the history of ex-Jazz players, Utah Jazz players, I think Gobert, if you said he was at the top of the list in terms of favored, I can buy it.
You mean of the players who left before their career was over? For people who, if you only played,
not Hornacek, and these guys are retired here. No, I'm not talking or played for a prior team. I'm talking about played for the Jazz and then went on and played somewhere else in the league.
You don't get to end here. But of all the guys who started here and moved on and didn't finish here.
And were here for a bit and made a contribution. Obviously, Gobert did all those things. Yes, I think you can argue he's the most popular ex-Jazz player.
I think that's right. As a matter of fact, I'm struggling to think who would be second.
Well, Joe. Joe was there.
Yeah.
If they moved Clarkson.
It feels like it ended here, but it didn't. I mean, obviously he's been in the league.
This is his third team.
Right.
3 years, 3 different teams.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the knee injury at his age, I mean, he just wasn't going to recapture what he was in his prime. Whereas we've seen basically prime Gobert.
I think Favors, people liked him.
Yep. Yeah.
I'd have to think about other types of players, other names that come in. And then when we get in the 80s, I'm a little shy.
Yeah, Raja Bell was pretty popular. He left.
Bell? Sure.
He left and remained popular and then came back late in his career.
Yeah.
Kind of the big T. Thurl Bailey arc. Was here early, was gone for a while, came back, and Thurl obviously settled here.
Yeah.
So that's little apples and oranges compared to Gobert, who's still playing.
Yeah, Thurl is his time away is like Jordan with Washington. Nobody remembers it.
It doesn't count. It doesn't count. He went to Italy. Minnesota and Italy.
Yeah.
All right, DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Spring football, Chris Karpman, Arizona State. They've been labeled a sleeping giant forever. Is the time finally here? Are they ready to go back-to-back? We'll talk with Chris Karpman next. Stay with us. Chris Karpman covers Arizona State for the Sun Devil Source. He joins us right here on 97.5 The Zone as our spring football tour continues with the champs. Chris, good morning.
Good morning. How you guys doing?
Good. Is it a blast to cover Dillingham because he's so different and he's so unpredictable? I read this guy's quotes, and I think it would be fun. Just because you don't know what he's going to say. I mean, one day he's out there talking about he's not running a hostage situation. Who talks like that?
Yeah, he's a character, and it's really enjoyable covering ASU football. You know, all the practices are almost fully open to the media. We're there for 2+ hours every practice. He talks to the media twice a week. He lets his coordinators talk every week. His players talk all the time to media. They have all kinds of fun things that they do sprinkled throughout their practices. They have offensive linemen running routes against defensive linemen, catching the ball on fades in the end zone. They wheel a basketball hoop out onto the practice field. They have shooting contests. They have dunking contests. They play video games. Their saying is that they want to have more fun working harder than anyone else in the country. And the players have bought into that. These guys love playing for Dillingham. None of ASU starters transferred in the spring portal, in the winter portal. They have almost all of their top starters back. In a world in which that is increasingly rare, ASU stands as sort of an exception.
Yeah, I've adopted my motto, Chris, as a Sun Devil grad myself. I show up on time, I be the best person that I can be, and then I repeat every day. That's his motto.
That's what it's all about. Yeah, I mean, he's a process-driven person. He's not results-oriented. The results flow from the process, and it's hard for young people, I think, to really get that until they see results, which is sort of an oxymoron. But when ASU had all this success going from a 3-win team to an 11-win team, people were like, oh, wait a second, this guy's on to something. And then that forces them to focus even more on the process.
Yeah, for sure. So obviously the big thing is Scadaboo's gone. I mean, they've lost some other guys, receivers and some DBs. I think Simmons is a very nice player they had in the defensive backfield. But the focus for the start is going to be on the running back. And I know they had, Brown had an opportunity to play a little bit. And then what's the kid's name from SC, the small kid who got hurt? He's
another Brown, Raleek Brown.
Yeah, that's right, Raleek. There I go. I know they were both Browns, but they were both there. And then they got the transfer from the Naval Academy who ran for something like 1,100 yards. I'm not expecting to be able to equate what Scadaboo. He might be one of a kind there for a good long while. But I do think, at least judging from the outside, they still have an opportunity to move the ball, maybe not just with the one featured guy and all that stuff.
Exactly. So Marcus Arroyo, ASU's offensive coordinator, said that 500-plus yards that were Scadaboo's yards are going to have to be distributed across the rest of the roster. And that should be a little bit easier when you have a quarterback now going into a second year as a starter, second year familiarity with the scheme. Sam Levitt, he's very good. He's going to be a first or second round draft pick, in my opinion, when he's done playing college football. Jordan Tyson, over 1,100 yards as a receiver last season, like one of the best receivers in the country. He's also a top NFL prospect. Chimama Taylor, tight end, is an all-league player. ASU has 4 offensive line starters back, and those are the things, coupled with some other additions that they've sprinkled in, that they hope will be able to offset the loss of Cam Scadaboo, who obviously had a very outsized impact on ASU's success last season. The best running back in ASU history, in my opinion, given what he accomplished. But Kyson Brown, he looks the game's slower, and he looks more fluid out there to me. He's a very good athlete. Rayleigh Brown had a hamstring injury, cost him all last season. He's back looking at 100%. Kanye Udoh, who you mentioned, the transfer, who had 1,100 rushing yards. He's a more physical, bigger, downhill kind of running back. So there's a contrast, unlike what's happened in the last several years where ASU's had one bell cow back who's had a lot of production. Benjamin, Xavier Ballade, Rashad White, Cam Scadoo, all 1,000-yard rushers. I don't think that ASU will have that this year. You never know, but it seems to me like more of a group, sort of a running back by committee approach is more likely this season, and we'll see if ASU has enough firepower and experience to overcome that loss of Scadoo.
On the list of bizarre answers we get from a coach, I don't remember many coaches saying, I need more snappers. How good is the O-line, and is center the weak spot? Is that a real concern, or does he know that sounds fun and he's providing a sound bite? And there's a little bit of truth in it and a lot of entertainment.
Yeah, I think it's real. Lee Fautanu might be ASU's second biggest loss after Scadoo. He was an all-league player last season, extremely reliable. The ASU's moving Ben Coleman from left guard to center. He's never played center, despite already being 6 years in college. He was the top pass protector at guard in the Big 12 by PFF last season. He's a very good player. The snapping got quite a lot better from the beginning of spring to the end, but there's just more responsibilities. And ASU added Wade Helton from Iowa State via transfer as another option to give themselves some more possibilities that they could look at there. But I think that Coleman's got a big task ahead of him because Fautanu was so good at setting protections and understanding how to get everybody on the same page and communicate across the line. They had more false starts in the spring than we saw at all last year in practices, and part of that was what the defense is doing with more movement up front, but part of that was just what Fautanu provided that now is going to have to be replaced.
You're telling me, Chris, that you think Scadoo is better than Benny and Art Malone out of Eloy High School? I can't believe that.
Well, listen, he is one of only 20 FBS players in history to have more than 2,300 yards from scrimmage in a season, and he accomplished that while also setting ASU single-season rushing records and rushing touchdown records for an 11-win team. So, I think Cam Scadoo is you can etch him on the Mount Rushmore of ASU offensive players.
You're going to upset Woody Green and Gerald Riggs. I'm just telling you.
Those are great players. Trust me. I've studied them closely, and it's a fun debate actually. ASU's had a bunch of good running backs over the years. I just think that nobody has a better case than Scadoo. If he had been 2 years, right? If he had been a 3 or 4 year player, this would be a no-brainer.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, he was fun to watch. Defensively, I really expect them to get in the face of the quarterback probably more than they did last year, and it literally might be the strength of that defense. Let's respond to that.
I think you're right. It's almost as if you were watching the spring practices instead of me.
Well, I read your stuff. I listen to you on Bickley and Murata, too, for that matter.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Clayton Smith had maybe 13, 14 quarterback hurries last year, and he looks like he's taken another step forward. Right. As I was saying earlier, Brian Ward, ASU's defensive coordinator, he was more conservative last year with some calls and some things than typically would be the case. He sets a goal every year of 40 sacks and 30 takeaways. And ASU, despite being a very good defense, leading the Big 12 in run stopping and among the top turnover generators in the conference, didn't get to those numbers. So I think that just given the trust that they have on the back end with all their starters back except for Shamari Simmons, who you correctly said was their biggest loss on defense, as their nickel. But the trust that they have in their safeties and their corners, several of whom are all-conference caliber players, I think that's going to allow him the confidence to dial it up a little bit more with some pressures and do some exotic things to try to get to the quarterback. And their individual performers between Clayton Smith, Prince Dorba, Justin Watley, CJ Fight, and others are, I think, just going to be a little bit better.
There are crazy stories in the portal, and once in a while, a lot of times the stories are just the stories, but sometimes it leads to production on the field. And Utah had Caleb Lohner, former basketball player, multiple schools, comes out, plays football. He's going to be a big target in the red zone. I thought he got wildly underused. He caught 4 passes, and they all went for touchdowns. And now ASU's landed a 6'7" JC transfer, and crazy story. Of course, he transferred somewhere and just did spring ball there and then left Northern Illinois and came to ASU. So he's a double transfer in the offseason. He's 6'7", 190, Akeem Lenu. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that right. Are they going to use him in the red zone? Is he a project? He only had 20 catches in JUCO ball. I don't know, if he had a good quarterback and a good offense, maybe they couldn't get him the ball. What do you know about him?
Yeah, from watching the film, he looks like a guy who's fast at that size, who can stretch the field. Not developed as a route runner, doesn't have a lot of sophistication to what he's doing right now, and so that's going to take some time. As you guys are aware, the junior college eligibility thing is enabling those guys to not have those years counted against them if they want to stay in college longer, which one of ASU's defensive ends, Elijah O'Neal, is taking advantage of this year. ASU's done a good job with the junior college evaluations, and I feel like they want to have more size, length, and speed to help make sure that opposing defenses stay honest when they're figuring out how they're going to defend Jordan Tyson. And so when you add a field-stretching 6'7" guy on top of the other transfers that they added who were Division I guys, Jalen Moss, Jaron Hamilton, Noble Johnson, I think they accomplished that. They have size now, they have better size, and they have more speed. I think more pure, raw ability to threaten the defense vertically than they did last year, especially Jaron Hamilton, who did a very good job of connecting on deep balls with Sam Levitt in spring ball.
Both of Kenny's years, they've sucked at place kicking. I don't know how else to say it. So tell us about, I'm going to say, the guy that they got in, and all I could say on this transfer is praise Jesus.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was doing some wordplay puns with that, like Jesus saves. He was really good at Eastern Michigan. Matter of fact, 2 years ago, or 3 years ago now, he kicked against ASU in Herm Edwards' last game, the infamous game in which people thought that he got fired on the sidelines after the game by Michael Crow, Ray Anderson. In fact, he didn't, but that was the last game. He stepped down within the next 24 hours. So now Gomez is practicing with ASU already. He was great in spring ball, extremely consistent, big leg, a lot of 50-plus yard kicks in practice. I think that's going to be a significant upgrade from what ASU experienced last year when kicking really cost the team a loss at Cincinnati and negatively impacted a lot of decisions throughout the year where ASU was going for it on 4th and mediums, 4th and longs, when it otherwise should have been able to have a field goal of 45 yards or 50 yards and didn't even attempt some of those.
So in summary here, has the sleeping giant, I think I was in junior high the first time I heard that, Arizona State's a sleeping giant. So that's been going around for decades. But is it finally about to happen? Is it a combination of maybe some rule changes that are helping them and getting the right coach in with his local ties and knowledge? Does it feel like ASU can put together multiple great seasons?
Certainly seems like they're set up for that. They have 2/3 of their starters back from last season. They have a quarterback who turned the ball over less than any other regular starter in the Big 12. They were great at stopping the run, and almost all those guys are back and they ran the football extremely well. That was Scadaboo, but that was also scheme and their offensive line and tight end, which they have almost all those guys back. So there's no reason to expect that ASU will have a significant backslide, even with Scadaboo's departure. You still need luck with injuries. They avoided major injuries last season. Their top players only missed a game, maybe 2 games in a couple cases, and then they're going to have to continue to take care of the ball and live by their credo. But if they do those things, and I expect that ASU will be competing at the top of the food chain in the Big 12 in November, with a chance to repeat as conference champions and return to a CFP berth. This is the best. I've been following ASU for over 30 years and covering ASU professionally for over 20 years, and this is the best that I've ever seen a returning roster in spring ball in that span. So the expectations are high, and they should be.
The one thing that does concern me, and it's not necessarily specific to ASU, but they've had a ton of success. They had a ton of success last year in one-score games, and you wonder if that stuff might even out. I think they were 6-2 in one-score games.
Absolutely, but they won the turnover battle in all those games except for one. And again, they just didn't. They just don't have guys that put the ball in jeopardy, and they make it such an emphasis. And they have in Sam Levitt a guy who can close out games because he scrambles for first downs when you're playing man coverage on third downs. And there's just something about him that's different. He's just a different kind of a person as a quarterback than I would say anybody in the Big 12 that's back. I think Shedeur Sanders had that last year, but nobody else. And other quarterbacks and other teams are going to have to elevate because in the fourth quarter, ASU is going to be a very dangerous team.
Yeah, he's this generation's version of Jake the Snake, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Chris, we appreciate the time. Thanks for coming on, and PK will continue to read and listen to you.
I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Keeping those Sun Devils hooked up out of state. Chris Karpman covering Arizona State for Sun Devil Source.
He was the guy who was the lead writer, investigator on all of Herm and Pierce's shenanigans above anybody.
Did more digging.
By far. This guy, which is why they have him on Ryan Hatch's station all the time, because, you know, those types of people are thought of as fans, and you can be a fan, that's fine, but don't be a fan at the expense of news. And he wasn't. He exposed it. He had it all. He had everything. Yeah, phenomenal work.
Stuff that doesn't happen as much necessarily anymore.
Yeah, he just was all over it. He exposed everything, the crooks that they were.
And you'll keep listening to him because of that and reading him.
All sorts of credibility in my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you believe the sleeping giant stuff? Can it finally be true? I know you've heard that since you moved
you've
to
got
the
to
desert.
prove it, though. I mean, believe it, this or that.
But
how
you've always
many
said,
times are you going to pull the ball away from me?
Yeah. You've always said that recruiting to the Heat, people underestimate how hard that is.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the transfer rules come in. The kids who go there out of high school know they can leave. They're not committing the way they did in the past. It's much easier to leave. And they can get the bounce back transfers in a way they couldn't get in the past. And plus, when you're recruiting juniors and seniors for 1 or 2 years, they may not know about it, and B, you just get more mature and you value different stuff later on.
Right, and you're not from there, so you want to go there. Yeah, well, you look at Levitt, transfer, Scadaboo, transfer, Jordan Tyson, transfer.
So maybe it's possible in a way that other coaches just didn't have this.
And if they get the NIL.
Yeah.
You got to have the cash. If they get.
Are they doing better in there? Because you've been telling us that. And again, a coach who's good with a quote, what are you going to do? Oh, I got 3 things to do. Fundraise, fundraise, fundraise.
Yeah, those were the words, his departing words on the 2023 season after they got worked by the U of A. I know people. I don't know specific numbers. They tell me it's gotten a lot better. But then I listened yesterday, literally, to the baseball coach, because we're getting down, this is the last series, and then they go in the conference tournament in the NCAAs. And Bloomquist, who played in the big leagues for like 15 years, he said their NIL is awful.
Oh. No. Is that because the whole school's awful or because everything's going to football? Because I think we can look at the basketball portal and think, well, basketball doesn't have enough money.
Yeah, nobody cares.
Right.
But they just set a record for attendance this year.
Right. So I just wonder if all these other teams are getting starved because the money's going to football,
maybe so,
or
maybe so.
or football. Is behind also.
You look at they're you're not going to get top dollar there. Obviously, we will not be the highest bidder.
Nice, good quote. I've almost heard that quote somewhere before.
We don't stack paychecks in Tempe.
You do, just occasionally.
So you're going to have to go there for other reasons. But, you got to be competitive.
But they didn't have a lot of players leaving after spring ball.
They didn't. They had no starters. He just said that.
Yeah, so that's
awesome.
That's great, right?
It's all.
It doesn't really.
It's all in what you do rather than what you say.
It doesn't look like they lost that many backups, and the ones they lost, you kind of get. You want more playing time, if you're right. But if your twos are gutted, that's a problem because you're going to have injuries.
Mm-hmm.
They lost a half dozen guys. Everybody loses that.
Expectations, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen, to be so low from one year to the next and then be so high.
Yeah.
Whether they do it, I'm always a little leery in one-score victories.
With good reason.
The ball's got to bounce your way sometimes.
We've seen that even out over time for multiple teams, college and pro.
Which is why I wouldn't say, they're the definitive favorite. But if they're not bowl eligible by the first week in November, that's an extreme disappointment. If they roll out 8 wins and get a 9th win in a bowl game, you got to know who you are. That's not so bad. It may not be what some people want, obviously, but I try to look at it as realistically as possible. I feel the same way for BYU, and I know BYU's people, they've got extreme high expectations, but sometimes things don't go your way. It didn't go Utah's way last year, right?
Well, you can look at ASU and you can look at BYU and see that combined, they only lost one start to injury for their quarterback. Combined.
Yeah.
And the team lost that game.
Yeah. So let's see what happens.
Let's see if they can keep their quarterback healthy. Because you can go through college football and the NFL, and the quickest, easiest way to wreck a season is to lose your quarterback.
Right. And that changes everything.
And if you lose your quarterback, can you just play 500 ball with your backup? That is so often the standard.
Although the Cougs got bare. Let's just say their quarterback room is not bare. That's all I'm saying. You see what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? You follow me? They got bare.
It's after 9 o'clock.
It's not bare because they have bear.
Yes.
Yeah. It's Bear Bach.
More wordplay.
Bach. Just hold on to your horses because we're about to see a bear.
DJ PK.
I can't quit now. This is too much fun.
What about a tiger?
A tiger, but Bear's got to get Tiger the ball before he can run like a gazelle.
Bear, tiger, cougars. There's wordplay. It's lions and tigers and bears, oh my.
Man, I'm stacking paychecks every day.
DJ PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Everything you missed in this show. The leaders at the PGA Championship now 4 under. Guys going low. We'll tell you more about it next. Stay with us. 9 a.m. Slacker Radio headlines brought to you by Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan Wealth today, your local trusted financial fiduciary, 801-899-7600, or visit their website at TrajanWealth.com. PGA Championship is underway. There's already 3 golfers at 4 under. There's another 9 golfers at 3 under. We got a couple hours of tee times that still haven't teed off, and they're going off the first and 10th tee. So there are a lot of players who haven't even stepped out on the course yet and got it going. We're waiting on Jordan Spieth and Justin Thomas. Oberg isn't out there. DeChambeau, your first-round draft pick, isn't out there. So there's a lot of guys to get going here. A lot of birdies to be made, at least today. We'll see if the course dries out. Bob Casper was on with us earlier talking about the greens are dried out because they got the technology to do that with the sub-air system. So the course will play differently over the course of the week if it doesn't get
I'm watching it right now,
anymore.
And it's looking like a nice day. Matthew Fitzpatrick teeing off on hole 4.
Matthew Fitzpatrick, he's already 3 under, isn't he? One of the many.
Oh, he got a birdie shot right there. I'm looking at it right now as we speak.
Nice.
Matthew Fitzpatrick was simply my greatest pick of all time.
Of all the picks, that's your one you're proudest of?
You guys ain't never even heard of him, and I pick him to win the U.S. Open.
And he does. Out of nowhere.
Except I picked him. What do you mean out of nowhere?
Well, you were out of nowhere and you found him. Found him out on the back nine somewhere.
I knew.
There it is.
You guys, Rory, Scotty, JT. Wow, you're bold. And I go Matthew Fitzpatrick. Huh? And he freaking wins it. I love me.
There's a drop for you, Yak. Will you grab that one? Grab I love me.
That was so awesome.
There's another one, Yak. Keep them piled up.
I should have stopped right there.
Just retired?
Yeah, let you guys
retired.
do it.
Just go Barry Sanders, walk up into the sunset.
Matthew Fitzpatrick to win in the U.S. Open, and he does.
Bingo. Has he won anyone since, or like you got the 1 week?
He beat his brother. I think his brother's his caddy. They were at the English country club over there. Isn't he from over there somewhere?
I don't know. You're the one who discovered him. Where'd you find him?
Just did my research. I felt a prompting.
You meditated?
I talked to Phil.
He is from Sheffield in South Yorkshire, England.
Yeah, that's what
Although
I'm saying.
now he's got a little base camp in Jupiter, Florida, because, he's nobody's fool.
Yeah. I hope to be able to just own, this is like a little corner lot one day in Jupiter.
Yeah.
Nothing built on it.
He's got 2 career wins. He won the U.S. Open and he won the RBC Heritage. There it is. 2.
The Heritage. I rode my bike on that course last summer. It was closed for aerating the greens, and they closed the whole thing. It was fun to ride my bike.
That's not just one course, is it? Isn't it a complex of golf courses?
No, they just play on the one. I mean,
the tour plays on the one, but there's
dozens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you're riding your bike, you're just looping through all of them, or several of them.
I specifically rode the bike on the cart path on that course because the other courses were open.
Oh,
this one
they
was
only
closed.
aerated the one, the whole complex.
At that time.
At that time.
Yeah.
Rotate through them and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, that was a good time to be out there on a bike then.
It was really cool.
Get the lay of the land.
Yeah, for sure. And I watched it this year and could remember stuff.
Full NFL schedule is out. You're all sorts of geeked up for the college schedule. Utah, UCLA, and the opener. The NFL schedule do it for you, or you're not traveling for this, so you don't care if Kansas City and Dallas are playing on Thanksgiving Day in the middle of the tripleheader.
I do care.
Yeah.
On the holidays, I care. I saw. I looked at it last night, and I said, "That's a Thanksgiving that I'm going to do 3 things:
watch the first game, watch the second game, and watch the third game."
Well, I'm going to watch football. I'm going to eat, and then go to the bathroom.
There it is. No nap, huh?
I don't think so. No, I'll make sure I get enough sleep because those are a lot of times they have dog games, and who knows? But they look attractive on paper right now.
Green Bay and Detroit in the morning game.
That's a great game.
Kansas City, Dallas in the afternoon. Cincinnati and Baltimore in prime time. They have definitely tried to put 3 really good games.
Yes.
And they have definitely taken the teams that they think are going to be good, and they've moved half of those teams' games off the traditional Sunday network stuff. It's CBS or Fox or whatever, and they get regionalized and all that, and then people complain because they can't see the game. These marquee teams are playing half their games NBC Sunday Night Football or Amazon Thursday Night Football or ESPN on Monday or the international games or Christmas, Thanksgiving. You go through them, and the Chiefs will only play half their games on CBS.
Well,
I think the Cowboys get 9 games on Fox. The Broncos are expected to be good. They're only playing 8 games on CBS. They have tons of these primetime standalone games.
Is Mission Impossible being released on Memorial Weekend?
Money, and money.
So why shouldn't this do it?
Yeah.
It is an entertainment form.
So the question is, why did it take them so long to get this?
I don't know.
To this point?
I can't speak to that, but what I can speak to is that it's
I know why
happening.
they're doing it now.
And I'm a consumer, and I want to watch it. I want the best to be out there to entertain me.
Christmas Day, Dallas and Washington, and then Detroit and Minnesota, and Denver and Kansas City. So you're getting late in the season. Division games, somebody ought to have some at stake in all those games.
And I will watch those games too. And if the NBA games are on and they're good, I'll flick over. The more, the merrier. I never understood that idea, we got too many bowls. No. Why?
If I don't watch it, fine.
Right.
But somebody else is going to watch it.
If it's a good game, I'll turn it on. Yeah, and I don't care if it's a bowl game, whatever bowl game. I get it. Doesn't mean, and my whole perception of bowl games changed when I was in Tucson and watched the New Mexico State Aggies and the Utah State Aggies play, and to see the looks in those kids' eyes when New Mexico State won it. Yeah, let them have an opportunity because that was really cool.
That goes back to what you say about competition, passion, and emotion. And when you see those three things, it doesn't really matter the sport or the level of the sport or the records of the teams.
And their fans, they're not going to be playing in Fiesta Bowl anytime soon or what have you. So let them experience that. Then purple was all over that town, New Mexico State. And obviously, it's very much closer of a drive from Las Cruces over to Tucson. I think it's about 4 hours. And so they were there. Yeah, more the merrier, man. I love this time of year for the NBA playoffs because I have 2 games a night. Now it's going to be reduced.
Starting tonight. There's only one game.
Right.
Oklahoma City and Denver.
Right.
6:30.
Yeah, that stinks. I like the more the merrier, man. I like to sit there and flick around and
get the best game and leave the blowout.
Right. I got no life.
Blowout last night. All 5 Celtic starters were shooting the three extremely well. And the Knicks, 33% on 2-pointers. So you get those two things happening, you're going to have a 25-point blowout, and that's what we had. Celtics win Game 5. But are all those things likely to line up and happen again in Game 6? Seems unlikely.
Right. If I'm the Knicks, I'm feeling fine.
What if they lose Game 6? Then you're not feeling fine, are you?
Not as fine, but I wouldn't.
It's not over, but nonetheless.
Well, anytime you lose 2 in a row in a postseason, I don't see how you can feel as fine. But it's not like they can't go up there and win. I think the Celtics, and we see this when stars go down, that any one game or maybe even a couple of games, they can withstand it, but over the long haul. And maybe they can withstand it against the Knicks, and that would be sort of Knick-like to torture their fans.
It would be.
If they did that.
They blow through one lead.
In my day, the Knicks didn't do that. We won championships.
Ah, there it is.
And I was there in the Garden.
Back in the day.
Although I can't say I follow the Knicks religiously, but I never really celebrated when they won. I just wanted to watch. I had this little 12-inch black and white TV in my bedroom, and I would virtually every game from the Garden and wherever I had it on.
Minnesota Timberwolves knock out the Golden State Warriors 121-110. Steph Curry gets hurt, and that series ends quickly. 5 games all done. Minnesota back to the conference finals, 2nd year in a row. Pacers back to the conference finals, 2nd year in a row. They both lost last year. We'll see if they can draw on those experiences. Ready for a Minnesota-Indiana NBA Finals? I am.
I couldn't care less in terms of that it's not glamorous. I'll watch. Yeah, I want to see. Oh, that would be awesome.
I think it'd be fun to not only watch
4 wins away.
To not only watch the games, but to watch all the people who love the glamour market brand stuff lose their minds. That'd be great.
Stick it to them?
Yeah, sure.
That's fine. And then old man Halliburton has to stay home. He can't be there.
Oh, man. Oh, man, Halliburton.
That'd be torture. If you follow through and the Pacers win the title at home.
And you can't go.
And you can't go because you're an idiot.
Giannis in the first round.
That would be a little poetic justice. You didn't belong out there in the first place, and you certainly didn't belong there talking.
No. If you go out on the floor, it needs to be to hug your kid.
Exclusively.
Anything else?
Yes.
It's like, I think we see trouble here. I think we're seeing trouble.
Yeah, or maybe somebody else if you were close to through the relationship with your son.
Yeah.
But to go up to an opponent? What are you thinking?
Nope.
That's ridiculous. Shut your mouth.
Phil Knight doesn't want to buy the Blazers, so you got one less competitor if you're thinking of getting a group together out there. Good news for you. 5 years ago, Phil said, I was a younger man. I had a great interest
82 versus 87? 82. What's the difference?
About 5 years. However, at my current age, I confirm that I no longer have an interest in acquiring the team.
Let's see. I'll be dead next year. I can't do this.
Phil, leaving it for somebody else.
Fine. I actually wanted him to see him buy it. Maybe less money to give to the Ducks.
That might be it. He left that part out. I'm busy putting all my money into Oregon football. Leave me alone. College football, as expected, eliminate the first-round buys for the conference champs. The conference champions performed so poorly with those first-round buys, they've been taken away. Straight seeding.
That's not true.
We got to rank 12 teams.
Devils went to overtime.
Yeah.
Come on.
They're the one who hung in there.
Well, they not only hung in there, they had like fourth and 15.
Coulda, woulda, shoulda.
Yeah. But, and then that, come on.
Now the Big Ten, the SEC.
Referee calls a targeting call like he should have. We win that. And
There
probably
it is.
win the national title.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay, Rico.
Could throw the ball over them mountains. Big Ten and SEC will now probably get a couple buys each. Not that the Big Ten champ handled their bye all that well either.
We'll see. We may be sleeping on the ACC and the Big 12 a little bit.
See another tournament and see how it works out.
Well, I just think generally speaking, not literally just this season.
How bad will the Rockies get, PK? 7-36. The White Sox.
Well, they got rid of Bud Black, so finally the things will change.
The Mets have been the standard for decades, more than 6 of them. And the White Sox broke all the records for futility last year, and now here come the Rockies to break those records for futility.
I think the Rockies must have they must have made the big man upstairs upset because they sign these free agents and they don't do anything. Think about a few years ago, Chris Bryant was all that with the Cubs.
And now?
And he hasn't been jack squat for the Rockies. And remember several years back, they signed Mike Hampton as a free agent pitcher. And he was good. And he goes to Colorado and sucks.
Should have just staggered the rotations so those guys pitch more on the road and don't have to deal with the altitude as much?
Yeah, but everybody has to deal with it.
I mean, it comes a time, right? You got a week at home. Can't not pitch for a week.
And then you got Chris Bryant. What happened to him? He's been injured. He's made the Angels' investment in Anthony Rendon seem like a great ROI.
DJ PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Your feedback's next. Stay with us.
And it's all over almost here.
Don't go nowhere. Only one I know wanted to get out of Denver was Carmelo Anthony and Bob Seger.
What does that mean?
It comes in from Kevin.
You mentioned Carmelo earlier wanting to get out of Denver. Bob Seger got a song, lyrics I'm not recalling right now.
Well, I know he wanted to go to Kathmandu.
Maybe he was leaving Denver at the time.
Take me, baby, because I'm going with you.
Time for your feedback. Everything you have to say about this show. Rudy Gobert and Mike Conley in the conference finals for the second consecutive season. You rooting for the Timberwolves. And that has garnered 64 likes, which is probably at least triple what something would normally get. So, yes, Utah is rooting for the Timberwolves. Rudy, Mike, Joe, even though Joe's not playing. For sure, 11-2, highly ranked True Blue BYU 1984 says they were class acts towards the Jazz. I'm also happy for Spida losing in the second round with the number 1 seed. It's so fitting, laughing with the tongue out emoji and winking.
A lot of hatred toward that man, a lot of love towards the other guy.
True Blue BYU saving all of his love for the Wolves, using none of it on the Cavs.
Whitney Houston over here?
Yeah, a little bit. And I. David, nope. And I still never understand sending Conley to the Wolves for a second-round pick. All it did was make the Wolves better and our picks for Rudy worse.
Yeah. Okay.
Sam, I'm not getting too excited. They haven't faced any real competition yet. Not impressed with the first 2 playoff wins.
I don't even remember. Oh, who did the Lakers? I thought they were all
yeah,
that,
it was
man.
the Lakers.
Come on.
Taking down the Lakers and the Wolves. Sent LeBron home. Sent Steph home.
Yeah.
Steph got hurt, so.
Kerr made that statement,
He thought we would have done it. I believe we would have done it.
Yeah, I think they lost it in their drafting. They had high picks, and they picked Moody and Wiseman.
Oops.
They actually, if they would have scored on those picks.
Look out.
Yeah.
That's what it's going to come down to with Oklahoma City, right? They're good, and they're going to have a bunch of picks. Are they going to hit or not? If they hit, look out.
Well, but they are good right now.
They are good
and the
right
Warriors
now.
did hit.
The Warriors did it. They won 4 championships.
But they could have continued it with the second pick.
Right. Would there have been a 5th one? Would there have been a 6th one?
They could have passed the torch rather seamlessly. It could have been a Montana to Young type thing, but they didn't connect on those draft picks when prior the nucleus of the winners were draft picks that they connected on. It's funny how that is, man. You hit over here, but you don't hit over there.
Travis, I'll be rooting for Minnesota till the Jazz get good again. Well, see, Travis, there will be people rooting against Minnesota because the Jazz do hold some draft picks there.
Not in the playoffs.
No, but at that point, by the time they get to this point in the playoffs, they've already got a good team. You know you're drafting late. And it doesn't necessarily have to be Minnesota now that they've traded away the worst pick out of Minnesota or Cleveland.
I understand. I think that once Edwards became a legitimate number 1 pick and a go-to guy, fill in around him, and you were going to be at least minimally halfway decent.
That they have locked in with their...
And that was the rare trade, I think, that helped both teams with Towns going to New York and DiVincenzo and Randall going to Minnesota.
Could still be the final. 2 teams that made a trade going against each other.
That'd be cool.
It could happen. Another storyline.
Yeah.
DJ PK, Jake, and Ben are coming up next right here on The Zone.